Hey, welcome back to Métropole Grid. My name is Andre. How's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. It is the 29th of July, 2023, and I turned my back on YouTube for like 1 minute. For 1 minute, I left my phone open, I walked away, I got a drink of water, I came back, and now it's all Scrabble content. I don't like Scrabble. I've never cared about Scrabble. They just won't stop sending me Scrabble content. How do I make it stop? How's everyone doing? Stab Tabby, how you doing? Metro Stream, Sophie, hey, how's it going? How's your month been? I guess it's June is come to a close, and we have July and then August to look forward to, and then from that point on, it's the calendar works. We've had a fair bit of news, I think, today when it comes to Netrunner to talk about. We're going to get that. We have a deck list of the week, which is basically we've come full circle where we go to like, oh, we're going to build a Thule deck. I'm kidding. We're going to build a Sportsmetal deck. Oh, I'm kidding. We're going to make it a Thule deck. And then they're like, maybe we should make it a Sportsmetal deck again. And I don't know who to believe, but I'm kind of in Camp Thule. So you got to embrace the Scrabble content. Got to collab with the Scrabble creators. My sister is a big Scrabble fan. She has that like really nice collector's Scrabble thing, the one with the spinny board and has like pieces that look gold and stuff. And I just dread the game because to me, it just seems whoever memorized more of the weird words nobody actually says. Which I wanted a game about words. And instead I got a game about chi. Go fist fight Mr. Scrabble. That should theoretically work wherever Mr. Scrabble is. Izzy, how's it going? Hey, Cyrod, good evening as well. How you doing? We have news. Yeah, there's a bunch of news. Oh, okay. The big one is here. We got it. It's happened. We have a ticket page for our national championships here in Montreal. It was a while to get this up. And finally, this came up today. We'll have a link in the description. I'll put a link in the chat. But if you are coming to Canadian Nationals, August 26th and 27th in French, that's called AOU. You can get tickets and please do. Like if you're coming down to the event, I'll add this to the other page too if you're watching this later, so the always be running page. But if you want to grab tickets sooner than later, that'd be nice, so we know what kind of what we're expecting in terms of people. It cost 40 USD, which in Canadian is, oh, I did it wrong. Hold on, it's 40 CAD in USD, so this is going to be like $10. It's $30 US. So that's what ticket prices are right now. And we're going to have some exclusive art and we're going to have it's a 2-day tournament. So stoked if you can have you. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to hit me up. Listen, YouTube has recommended me Japanese Mahjong videos. If they don't knock it off, I'm going to have to learn Mahjong. Being dyslexic and trying to play Scrabble is a ride. Oh yeah, man, that can't be easy. I don't understand exactly what Mahjong is. Mahjong is one of those games where we had it on like, what's it called? We had like a PC Mahjong game when I was at the age to not appreciate the rule set of Mahjong. So like I played Mahjong by brute force on Windows 98. It's probably fun. I got there at some point. Hey, Cror, how's it going? How's the new place? Check if you accidentally watched Scrabble in your watch history. I do. I watched one. And I really don't think that the hole should open that quickly, that deep. Remove it from your history. I might actually do that. 40 Monopoly dollars. Bizzle, how's it going? Hey, Janktivist, I think my Twitch heard you talk about Scrabble because Scrabble just popped up as a recommended channel. What did you do? Wait, actually? Wait, okay, so either there's big Scrabble money somewhere in the background that is just like dumping Scrabble right now because they're gonna like release Scrabble 2 and they need the stocks to go up. Either that or it is actually listening to what I say. So it's only a matter of time before we all get Corroder content. Wait, actually everyone's getting Scrabble content? Cyra, you too? Wait, what? Mahjong is a trip, so much knowledge needed. It looks really pretty, right? Like there are games that have good table presence. Mahjong, similar to dominoes, much better than dominoes. Chess, pretty good table presence. What is that abstract one that has like 2-letter name that I think is from a science fiction book or a fantasy book and it's not? I want to play that one. That one seems good. What I'm gathering is to go to chess as Mahjong is to okay, what I'm gathering is go is to chess as Mahjong is to poker. I actually had no idea there's betting in Mahjong. I thought it was just like a solitaire game. Go? Yeah, go as in like black and white thing. Like the little dots. You capture spaces. It's called Go. I think Othello is maybe the same game or maybe a similar game. But yeah, we call it Go. And in England, they call it Godo. That's a Cluedo. include a joke. All right, deck list of the week. This is first place at Spanish Nationals. Jinsei's been having, they've been on an absolute tear this last year, I think, doing some good Netrunner stuff. And this is just a Sportsmetal deck that is a Thule deck that has come back to be a Sportsmetal deck. And let's talk about this because I'm actually a huge fan of the Thule deck that I've been playing recently, which is entirely Solomir's Thule deck. I've been using this button a lot more. If you go to factions and you go to HB, it'll show you all the HB factions. It doesn't sort them for standard for some reason, but if you go all the way down to Thule, I hope it'll be there. Otherwise we can hit show more. Yeah, okay. So it is none of these. Mahjong is like a complicated version of Rummy. I don't even know if I know what Rummy is. Hey River, how's it going? The Mahjong on Windows was not Mahjong, but you could see my confusion. Okay, it's this one. Actually, no, it's the other one. This one came in third and then it came in first because he optimized it, I think. Something like that. Othello is different, but has black and white discs. Is it played on the same board? I'm not surprised it's different. Your knowledge of vocabulary needs to be revoked for that joke. Okay, so this is the deck that I've been enjoying. And let me tell you, the reason I've been enjoying this, Thule's ability says if the runner wants to steal an agenda, it's a click or 2 credits. A click and 2 credits, excuse me. Otherwise, they take a core damage. And let's be honest, core damage doesn't really matter. Fun fact, when you play against Thule, you can take the first core damage, it's totally fine. But as soon as they take the second core damage, that's where things get a bit interesting because, of course, ontological dependence becomes a 2-2 agenda. And that's obviously very good. It even gets better from that point. At the point that this Thule deck was catching on, Essa was at the height of their popularity. It's kind of slowed down a bit, but I think Essa is still probably very fun to play. And I'll be honest, the big reason why I like this deck is this card. It's Stock Buyback. It's kind of a trip. You play Stock Buyback, you just kind of never let go of Stock Buyback. And I think I've been exclusively playing Stock Buyback decks at tournaments in person for the last like month, maybe 2 months, because this card kind of does a lot. And I'll be honest, this card I don't think is particularly healthy. It is rotating relatively soon, but there's a lot of decks I think right now in Netrunner that just don't have a functional economy. Corp decks. I don't think they have a functional economy anymore. And I think HB in general just doesn't have a functional economy, period. So you kind of lean on this when you're playing an HB deck. And I think this Thule deck, again, and that's kind of the issue with these sort of decks, is the early game is kind of a real grind until they steal a couple agendas, a couple negative points, and then you hit this button for at least 9 credits is a nice start. But let me tell you, I don't know. I don't think HB decks have an economy. I think a really cool thing is, oh, I closed the page. But Encoder was playing a version of this at AMT, came in second, nearly undefeated, and basically took this sort of idea and played a very similar deck, but then changed out some seamless launches in the deck and then played off-world offices. So you actually have an economy because the runner might not run aggressively in the early game. And I'd argue that actually is the correct thing to do. A lot of times, one of the best things a runner can do against this deck is do nothing and set up for the first 5 to 6 turns because this deck doesn't have money. And it's up to them to jam into a remote server. And then when they realize they spend 3 credits to score out like a luminal transubstantiation, and that's all the money they have, it's really bad. So they really need you. They're asking for you to interact with them to turn on their Stock Buyback. And if you don't do that, they're happy, which Off-World Office makes a really nice inclusion to that deck for that reason. So I think it's cool. But again, they just don't have an economy package. Now, the reason we're playing Thule does 2 things. Firstly, it is a tax. It legitimately slows down runners, which means that if they're ever running last click, they generally don't. So they just, on average, make less and fewer runs throughout the game. And I think that's pretty cool. But largely, the Jinsei deck is basically this sort of shell put into sports. And I'm on record saying when Thule came out that take a Thule deck and just change it to Sportsmetal and it'll probably be a good deck. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. Largely, you're incentivized to run as many small agendas as you can get away with because small agendas means the Thule tax fires more often, let alone Stock Buyback will fire more often. And so that's pretty good. Except now in Sportsmetal, we get credits and card draw. And like I said before, I don't think HB really has a strong economy. So having an ability like that is built-in economy, it's basically a mini Stock Buyback. That's pretty good for you. So we're going to see if that is better than having the Thule tax. And I reckon it is. It's a bit more consistent and a bit more flexible. So that's pretty good. Otherwise, the deck is the same. I think that really confuses me. There's a Hangeki. Hangeki is so easy to play in Thule because they never really want to steal an agenda, because if it's on your turn, they don't have a click to spend. They have the 2 credits maybe. So that's just a negative point, or they take the core damage. And in this deck, we can largely Hangeki them only into Nightmare Archives and only into Mr. Hendrix. And I'd argue that like Mr. Hendrick is a good target for it because it's something you can actually install stuff on top of, so you can get double value for the Hendrick. But that actually was a play that I really didn't like from these decks, where somebody installs a Nightmare Archives into a remote server and then Hangekis it. Like now they're just not going to run the Nightmare Archive. So unless you trashed it yourself, you've taken a trap and just got your value out of it. Where the cool thing with Thule is you can install like a, I don't know, what's it called? A Mega Pre, and then go ahead. Mega Pre? Oh, this is encoders. Yeah, I was not used to Mega Pre. You can install like a Hyperloop and then Hengeki it and then still score it out when they don't want to access it. So you kind of double dip into it, which is kind of cool, but we don't have that here. I'm actually kind of surprised whether this is actually worth the slot or not. You could play news teams if you really wanted to. One cool thing this deck has is Restore. Honestly, not entirely sure why. I guess that's to bring back Giordano Memorial Field, which is one of the best cards you have in the deck. The ice in this deck is a lot better, I'd argue. We have actually taxing ice, like Fairchild 3 is really good. We have Oncels, which is fantastic. So that stuff is really good. On the other deck, you had Harmonics, which are pretty good. And Bloop is just kind of a nightmare to deal with. We have the Meridians, because it's just more negative points if they take them. And that is largely the deck. I like the fast breaks a lot, and I think this sort of deck should have a fast break in it. In fact, Cody did put a fast break in it, and you find out many games at the end of the game, you're just trying to fast break deep into the deck to set up a Giordano server, which is like very powerful at the point in the game fast break is good, let alone to find the ontologicals that might be like 0-2, 1-2s to score. So it's really good. I think the fast break is a natural inclusion to this sort of deck, the original Thule Solomir version. But again, we're throwing around all the cool Thule stuff to do Sportsmetal, and I honestly think Fast Advance Sportsmetal is probably in an okay spot right now. People are playing really greedy, like 70 card, what's they're called, Hoshiko decks. And I don't know, you're not seeing as much Shaper as you maybe did 2 weeks ago. We'll see. So Clot is not too big of a deal, but Sportsmetal is always going to be popular because it's always a reasonable ability. Othello board is smaller and less sexy, made of green fuzzy plastic instead of a big old piece of wood. Is that a rule that the board space has to be made of a certain material? Like you're playing clay tennis? I hate Stock Buyback. The big reason I like this card is Stock Buyback. Yo, Objectivist, that's totally true though. It's like, I hated this card until I played it. And that's generally what happens with most NP decks. It's like, I detest playing against them. And then I'm the one playing Jinteki, I don't want to say grinder. We never say grinder, right? But like, you know what I mean? Like it's fun once you embrace it. And then you see how good it makes you feel inside. But it's terrible when your opponent plays a card that gives them 15 credits with no interaction. Basic rule against this deck, take 1 core damage, because you can easily take 1 core damage. Only once you take 2 core damage is this a problem, and we'll see how our opponents play against this. There are some nightmare matchups. Again, if you see a lot of Sportsmetal in your meta, playing any deck that can trash agendas instead of stealing them, so things like Freedom, Imp, Stargate, all that stuff is very, very good. I think Criminal is probably not the best for matchup for the Criminal, because it can't really stop fast events. As much as we're not a fast events deck, we're about putting things in a remote server. And let me tell you about the remote server. This is my favorite thing about this deck, is that this deck was such a cool tempo jam deck because everything you put in a remote server, it costs the runner way more than it cost you, right? Like the basic idea, you install a Hyperloop in the remote server, they run it, you gain 3, they spend a click and 2 credits, and they made a run. You installed the Giordano Memorial Field. Obviously, they spent a lot of money. You installed a Hendrick, you installed a Managarm. Like everything you did was such a tempo slog for the runner. And for you is very, very, very good. Obviously, in the same camp, we have Sportsmetal. That's still true, largely. Yeah, it's kind of cool how this is just like a very jammy deck, and running the right thing or running the wrong thing is usually what's really important. But it's very easy to put something in the remote server every turn with these decks. It's really fun. I've made people play against P as recently as today. Yo, Izzy, I don't mind the PE deck that much anymore, right? Like it's the sort of thing too, you get used to it and you understand what it's capable of. And like, I know we played games and you see how close it does come down to. Like it's very good piloting. That's really important. Admittedly though, the version of PE you play is not as grindy as others can be. And I feel like I like those a fair bit less. Gachigasm Jinteki. Hangeki makes me want to build Jank. It's a really wild card. Like I didn't know the text of it until like Solomir started showing up with it in what's it called, in the Thule, and I was like, wait, this is actually pretty fun, isn't it? Campo de Fiori. I don't know what that means. That's not the first time I've typed in a JNet deck title not knowing what it means. Sportsmetal. Go big, go home. I'm also deep down a true villain. It's good to understand that every once in a while. Like, I don't know. It's fun. Let's go. Only a couple weeks left of the Stock Buyback hellscape. Wayland card that fits into every other corp better than into Wayland. Yeah, that's true, actually. It's like, it's a card that is very bad, specifically in most Wayland decks. And the Wayland, like, small agenda archetype never caught on, I think, through the history of Netrunner, right? Like, I think we had the idea of, you know, Argus Security, which had a kind of a Thule type tax, and it largely never worked out. Like, you still just wanted to play the good Wayland agendas because all the small Wayland agendas were always very bad, obviously barring hostile takeover. So Wayland actually hasn't seen that. The stock buyback dream is not alive and well. And I'm actually even wondering, like, is it a good enough card to put into a normal deck that is expecting the runner to steal 3-4 agendas of Global Food Initiative? It's probably not, just because inherently those Wayland decks need to get going out of the gate immediately. So like, you generally would rather have like a government subsidy, a too big to fail, a hedge fund, obviously. So it's like not even a great card in mid-range tempo out Wayland. Did you ever play the NAPD multiplayer variant, IXWT? I actually haven't. I have all the cards because it was at the worlds I was at. But at the worlds, if I'm not mistaken, I did casting, so I didn't have a lot of time between rounds to like, hey, thanks, you too, to like enjoy side events and stuff like that. So I have all the cards. I've watched a game of it, but I've never played it myself. But the time I played it too was like, it was just announced, so there was a lot of I would say misbalance in the game. S is really cool because we inherently are a core damage deck. This hand is not great. We're gonna mulligan that. Oh, okay. Obligatory Arkham update. TFA is going well. Akachi and Stellar are handling things. I can't believe you picked Akachi, man. There's so much more interesting thing. Mists or Riley's off the hook. Okay, now back to Netrunner. Mists is a card I don't play enough of. It's really, really good in that specifically campaign. But I've almost never played like evade-based Mystic. Okay. Essa, very important. Essa's going to take core damage. That's really good because this thing gets good. We have 2 Mega Pre's and we have a Hendrik. Admittedly, if Essa hits a Hendrik, we're in a bad spot. We have to knock at Chastushka. We have a fair few ice in this deck. We have 13 ice. So having a no mulligan hand is a bit strange. So I think we can just do draw, install. That's fine. If we get Chastushka here, it's hard to run archives. Stefan, bonsoir. Andre, how's it going? Bonsoir. Like Shaper P's the fun when it's not strong, and Nightmare when it is. Yeah, very much so. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Shapers being good, unless it is like a run-based Shaper, which like that really hasn't happened. But if you have a Shaper that plays like an Anarch, yeah, I'm in. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, Nuka. Okay, so we're gonna figure out what Essa deck this is. Most of the Essa decks have kind of got pretty similar. The big questions are like, are they on Banhar, Botulis? Otherwise, they're pretty similar. We got to do Sabotage 2. So already 1 core damage in. That means that this is now a 3-2 agenda. We're going to just sabotage one of each of these, I guess. This thing doesn't do anything early. This thing is not the best card in the matchup. I think there's going to be enough core damage done. We also have to watch out. If we want to score out a lot of small agendas, that's pretty bad. Please don't hit the 3 and 2. Okay, Hendrik. So this doesn't do anything because it's when installed. So they can't trash it, but they might have a read here that we actually care about core damage. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So yeah, it turns out he is triplets. So we're going to go score this. We're going to gain 2. Once Marrow comes down, it's harder for us to score 7 small different agendas. But at this point, we can score this out. And like, this is what I mean. Like, imagine we're Thule. Absolutely. We so need to lean on stock buyback because it's yeah, just scoring at that agenda. And I don't know if we play Mega Pre. Like, we're just down to 2 credits. We're not doing anything else. My TFA has gone poorly. Patrice and Kamani are not working well. We rerolled Vincent and Mark. Patrice and Kamani. Kamani is like the best investigator possible for what's it called, TFA. I'm surprised you're finding that. Kamani is so good in TFA. Patrice is like, I think, pretty flexibly good. I'm going to draw 2. That's wild. I know what one of those characters do. Patrice Hathaway is my favorite Arkham character, bar none. She basically plays like flesh and blood. And I think it makes all of Arkham boring once you play Patrice. Patrice is the only character that I've finished a campaign and continued to do another campaign with the same deck with all the trauma you take on. Ah, that's really bad. Do you play with Mind's Eye? I first played with Patrice before Mind's Eye was out. After that, I did play Mind's Eye. Yeah, we need money because we need to res the on-sell. That's really bad. That's such a good hit for them because it's the way that we can unfairly win. Marrow, sabotaging last click. You kind of want to avoid doing it, right? Because it means that we know what we're up to. So I think I'm going to get rid of the core damage cards. But Mind's Eye, I did play. It came out a bit after Patrice, I think. It wasn't the first deck I played. Okay. No breakers. This is something we definitely want to score out. It's the last one, and it is a 3-2. This deck, mind you, doesn't have Biotic Labor. Like, it has literally no fast advance, so we have to just, like, put this behind a piece of ice. And unfortunately, if they take the Meridian, they take the Meridian. So we could consider putting Meridian on HQ, and then we're kind of weak to Chastushka. So I think we draw up here. I'm actually going to struggle in this deck not knowing how we are meant to score out. Because I'm so used to like just jamming this on the table, but I don't think we can be on 4 points this soon. It's kind of strange. Like, oh, it's not always strange, but like a lot of Sportsmetal decks don't run too many. I guess they do run 3/2s. What am I talking about? But like, this is really bad. Stock Buyback. Did we throw out one? We did throw out one earlier. Okay. So I think we'll draw once. We'll just put that on HQ. They can still Chistushka through this one, which is annoying. Hey, Sunny, I'm also a recent Arkham convert. So much fun. How's it been? What have you been getting into? If they take Meridian USBB, yeah, for sure. But I think we want the Mega Pre to some extent. It's kind of hard to score out. And now we have Marrow, so like our scoring, our what's it called, off the top are pretty bad. Our 2-1s. Grizzled is great in Patrice. Grizzled is one of the cards I haven't played with at all. But I think Grizzled is just a very good card. I'd argue that maybe Patrice doesn't need more cards like that because you can pitch most of your hand. I'd be surprised if it would be my first inclusion. But anything that's like bin based. Oh, they're running second click. That's pretty disastrous for them. Obviously, we don't have money here. And this is the big thing is like Fairtrail 3 doesn't always show up in the people forget about this one also in the Thule deck. But like running anything besides first click when the corp has 6 credits into HB is like classically considered a mistake, but I've done this and you see this happen specifically against like Sportsmetal and against Thule where you're not expecting that sort of like mid-range clunk. Oof. It'll be okay. So this fires. So now they either have to trash one of their installed cards. These are very good cards or pay 6. So they're going to pay 6. And here we probably don't want to do a core damage because if we do dig core damage, Essa does the sabotage thing. So we're just going to end the run. So we traded 6 for 6. Not the worst. That could have been worse. If they had like 5 credits there or like heaven forbid 2 credits, they have to wipe their board. That's really, really quite bad. So that's fine. Well, Banhar. Okay. So we know they can run HQ. Our money is also absolutely messed up here. It's really bad. And like we could do like credit, install drafter, stock buyback for 5. That seems bad, but like not getting Chistushka seems pretty important. All right. So we just play. Oh, we can't even do that. Wait, this was a really bad turn. I think this is in general just a bad turn. I think this is not going great. Doing a solo Carcosa run with Jackie. Boyne also just did. Oh, Jacqueline, fine. Yeah, phenomenal scenario. Excelsior is like, I think the lead designer of Excelsior is now the lead designer of the game, which I think bodes well because Excelsior is pretty much adored by everyone. It's really, really cool. Very Mansions of Madness. Jackie Fine is fantastic. I do not play much solo Arkham, and I think it's such a different experience. But Jackie can get away with solo Arkham. I don't think every character can. Raindrops. All right. We're not resing that. So this is going to be 3 net damage. We kind of want them to steal that. 3 net damage is a lot here. Now they will draw 3 cards, but this is just a single axis, right? Like, I don't think we mind. All right. We hit a Light the Fire, Paperclip, and a Black Orchestra. So they have a breaker. Light the Fire is actually reasonable in this matchup because you can trash stuff. She's one of the top tier mystics. Supernut. Yeah, Jackie's really, really good. Her ability is also really fun because it works in like not solo. It's an ability that just fires for everyone, which is great. Not the lead one, but one of the 2 designers. Duke Harris is lead. He did a Light in the Fog in the Instrument Cycle and worked on Journeys in Middle-earth before. Oh, Gorfax, thank you. Light in the Fog is the Lighthouse one? Just pass test, Lamau. Having a 5 on your card turns out to be really good. I'm like really bad at knowing scenario names, like just very bad. I know what they're about because I played them, but I like, if you ask me like which one is the greater good or whatever, I have no idea. The names almost never show up in the scenarios. It's a Lighthouse. Okay. That one's cool. That one has a ridiculous swing and difficulty based off of, like this is where I want to put something in a remote server. I think you're going to maybe slow down the core damage considering they have one of the ontologicals, but like Decklist of the week, this feels really bad. So we want to put something on the remote server that is very good into a Banhar. I think that's a Fairchild, but like here, I don't even think we score out. I think we just do a new remote credit, and then we hope that we get more money off the stock buyback. Nightmare Archives, like we haven't seen any so far, but this is the one matchup where Nightmare Archives is not a guaranteed thing. Gloria Goldberg is also a very interesting solo character. Gloria Goldberg is very interesting, a very powerful solo character, but I think inherently she breaks the game in a way that I don't enjoy. Because she controls, it's a really cool narrative. It's like that Alan Wake sort of idea that she is stuck in her story and she can write the future. So she controls the encounter deck, which means you can play the entire game almost. Fire truck, excuse me. But she can play almost the entirety of the game without worrying about finding an enemy on the top of the counter deck. Like we played whole scenarios with her and like everyone was just drawing encounter cards that basically the entire phase of the game disappeared. And I'd argue that that's the most interesting part of the game is the encounter phase because you don't know what's happening. And it's a bummer to me that Gloria kind of dismantles that in like a very easy way. Very powerful ability. But you do know Undimensioned and Unseen? I would guess based off the name which one that is, but I'm not 100% sure. Innsmouth was our Iron Man in Roseville last month, so definitely in recent memory for me. Oh, how'd it go? That was at BusterCon, right? I picked Jackie up since I love playing purple, but she's definitely been carrying me through the game. Yeah, she's really good, and I think they did great as her 3 Hendrick, as like a starting character. I think I would say without reservation, barring the Seeker one, that the Investigator like learned to play starter decks are like really, really, really stellar. And like I think Nat Cho is one of the more interesting ways to make a Guardian, which I think the game needs more of that because I'm tired of just like hitting 3 times with a hammer. It's just not interesting. She was actually my first character with friends. I kind of hated the game. I felt it was too easy. Then I played Preston and loved it. Okay, yeah, that's an absolute swing where like you go from playing worrying about the counter deck at none at all to worrying about the counter deck a fair bit. All right, server 3 credit. We might get sabotaged here. I tried doing Gloria in a 2-player TFA and we didn't do so well. Nacho has ruined other Guardians for me. Yeah, you know it, right? Like other Guardians can be so boring. We're playing a scenario or a campaign right now where one of my friends is playing, what's his name? I'm playing a very similar deck in another campaign at the same time, but playing the actor, the Gravedigger, Yorick. And you just got that TFA 5 influence neutral thing that just hits people for 2 damage. And that's all he's doing. Most of his turns is just attack. Like, come on. All right, so here we can force them to spend their whole turn on this at least. That's fine. Yeah, Nacho's a cool design. We went for stretch goals and succeeded. I played Leo with Springfield being able to pop a 5 HP van chasing us 1/1 bullet was the highlight. Hell yeah. I think I played ranged in that car chase too, which is really fun when you actually get like the scope so you can shoot next enemies. That's a really fun build. She's nice for solo since I don't have a group where I'm at. Oh yeah, that's really good then. So they have to click through this. Installing and breaking costs 9. They're doing it? Your clicks are not worth 12 credits. Maybe they just install it and click through it? What? So that's 9, and they still have to install Trash Card? Okay. What's happening? Okay. This is a Netrunner stream, not an Arkham stream. You can't stop me. So they just paid 12. So they can either spend 3 clicks here or they can spend 12 credits. I'd argue that 3 clicks are generally worth way more than 12 credits. So I think you probably click through there. It maybe gives us a time to get a Spin Doctor down, but if they're worried about that, the Spin Doctor is probably in server 3. So I don't think you spend 12 credits here for a Chastushka. Maybe they also like hit us on R&D with something really sick, but they can't Chastushka us twice. So ice seems not that important. Admittedly, like we want them to find agendas and stuff. So I think the Meridian is worth keeping. On sell, we probably can't afford. I'll do the Drafter. We'll do 2 from the top. So we lost an Elevagal. That's perfect. Gloria in 4P is definitely more reasonable, not busted. As a unique niche, she's actually really good if you're playing with younger kids because you can stack softballs for them and avoid some bad feels. Oh man, Gorfax, I want the bad feels. The kids gotta grow up tough, where they die to rotting remains consistently, game after game. That's important. York is one of my favorites, just recycling chainsaws over and over. That's the York I'm playing, a chainsaw recycling. And when you have to shuffle your discard pile, it's so bad. Here they take a core damage with Elevagao, which like, that's good for them because Essa hasn't triggered yet, but they don't have, oh wait, I thought we were playing Thule. Okay, so we're gonna gain 2 credits, I guess. No, we have a buyback. Let's draw 2 cards. I found York fun because he at least makes some decisions about graveyard interactions. But yeah, the mechanic of drop weapon, click weapon until enemy splat is a bit weird. Yeah, I agree. I don't think there should be weapons that have infinite uses. I think inherently in Arkham, there is a problem in game design where like melee weapons are just 10 times better than ranged weapons. And there is no inherent reason to not do them. And then they're very boring because all your turns become the same. And it's a very difficult thing to fix. All right, so here we at least get a Spin Doctor in server 3. And then we do credit. And then we gain some money. So now we can threaten to res stuff. Arkham Horror is literally a game about mega bad feels. Some people want to avoid them. Yeah, I do agree though. Like your at least is interesting where you can choose to pitch cards to get them back and you are like planning your turn. But still. Like I want Chainsaw to be the thing where it has charges. I think Runic Axe is such a better design where you have to decide when and how to use it as opposed to, everything else in the game. It's funny because Arkham's cooperative. I kind of think it can't have balance problems. Oh, it has massive balance problems. Tired of melee weapons, just don't play them. You're not competing with anyone. I think you're right about that, DC Morph, but also you have to worry that the fact that the people who are playing and balancing the game are playing with the cards that you're choosing not to play with. So you're probably getting a different experience than what they expect. And maybe it's a too difficult experience, right? Like that's worth keeping in mind to some extent. All right, finality. Okay. We're just gonna rip 2 off the top. I don't care. So we lost a recursion card and an ice. So we could lose on this run super easily. Oh, we're gonna lose on this run. Draw 2. Oh, okay, good game, good game, good game, good game. They got all 3 ontologicals. Good game. We did nothing that game. We did literally nothing. This is turn 7, and they've accessed so many cards. Oh, man. They got every single one of these. Like, these are the only things that are really good for us because they're 1-2 agendas, but like, I don't know how we do this. We need them to steal agendas and get points. We just didn't have money. I think that's the line. Wow, we got smoked. Yeah, I don't know. At least when you're playing against like not Sportsmetal, when you're playing against the Thule one, they slow down. But I don't think against Essa they'd slow down here. That's a big problem too. Is like we have big chunky 2-pointers, so if they never interact with our negative points, right? Like they never take our what are called our Nightmare Archives and Meridians. Like they can get the points really fast. Like how do we Hangeki them? We can't Hangeki them. I have 2 in hand, but I don't have the money to keep you out. Right, like as soon as they're on 3 points, it's really hard to put a Mega Pre in a remote server, and it'll just take 2 net damage to steal it. Maybe 3 net damage, but we couldn't res any of this. Yeah. Let's go. Has to take down this fill in his deck. I know. And this is like the matchup where we draw the ontologicals in the right time. We have like a very easy win rate. But yeah, oh, that'll happen for sure. Let's do another one with this. I don't think I liked how this field, but I don't think we jammed as aggressively maybe as we should. This is one of the decks like Criminal where you have to ice up HQ, and it does slow you down a bit. Just a bit. I think of the game like a survival horror game where having limited resources makes the game full of decisions. Yeah, exactly. I think that's a big thing about it. Like having the last bullet makes it more exciting. But that doesn't always have the case. Love the content, got me back in Netrunner, hoping you hit. Oh, heck yeah. Oh, I would love to have you. We got the ticket page up. Hey, cheers. Oh, that's really kind. Awesome. Hey, Bellcaz, if you're Ken Nets, come say hi. Talk about the time that you ripped off of R&D. Hey, you too. Catch your end. Oh, that's very nice. All right, let's do another one. Court. I think I have to turn the AC back on. It's way warmer than I thought it was. This room was actually like proper cold before I started the stream. And I'm wearing pants. Sangren, did you figure out your deck for the weekend yet? Are you on ESSA? Because what you can do is you can mislead people. Whatever you say here, if they hear it, they're going to think you're doing that. So like you just put snares in HB. Just say like you're not playing HB without snares in it. Just like I always do. I do think there's some argument that you can get away with playing snare in this deck. You have 1 influence floating over. Like maybe you don't play the food. In the matchups, the food does something. It does something really powerful, but like maybe you can play an Ikoa project. I'd argue that if you're playing against inherently Thule, like you're the most often prepared to steal an Ikoa, which takes a click and 2 credits. So mileage may vary, all that sort of stuff. Who knows? I'm playing Asa and Essa. You mess up the registration, you know what's going to happen. That's a tournament DQ. Sad I couldn't make it up to the CO this weekend. Cold Lava. Yay. Where it's like it's in Connecticut, right? Fun Asa or Boom Asa? I would be very surprised if Jeff is playing Boom Asa. I'd be super surprised. Also, you don't think it's fun, huh? Are people like really worried about that sort of like boom combo Asa deck? I think it's probably better than it looks, but it dies so hard to tech. And I think it dies I think it's more robust than it looks. Because I think it's the sort of deck that people don't want to accept that it's reasonable, but it's probably okay. But I feel like really good piloting is going to pressure it down into a hard spot, and like any amount of tech is going to shut it up. I just don't know how consistently that happens. But I think it's a bit better than I think it is. I think it's going to be problematic after the rotation. Well, depending, like, right, maybe there's new cards that change that, but you think if like we rotate out right now, it's going to be good? Like if we just wait, but don't you need, oh, you don't need Hardening News. Don't you need Boom? Doesn't that rotate out? Isn't that the problem? Doesn't Boom rotate? Don Brago. Hey, how's it going? I'm going to make a tier 1 soon, probably. Hey, Seb. Shots fired. How about you? I'm well, thanks. Hey, thanks, you too. All right, opening hand, 2 ontologicals. We're playing against 45 card Hoshiko. How tame. I don't like this hand at all. We want to basically force Hoshiko into remote server. Good thing about Hoshiko is like we can keep centrals open relatively well. Like we can just jam in remote server. So like Magnet, Megapre is like a pretty good opening, barring the fact that we'll have no credits whatsoever. So I think we can go for that. Ideally, they score the 1 in hand, and then we score this out for 2. I played no Boom. I think it's a huge hit. Oh, that's good. So here we actually could let them have it, and I think that's better than them getting this, right? Like raindrops, you kind of want to do it on a run that makes sense, because otherwise they draw cards. Admittedly, it's only 1, but the res effect on Magnet's really good. So it's 2 credits or draw 2 cards. I think we need the money. Hey, Dan, I played CS Zaya with Obelisk against Sebastian K on the Boom Asa. He aggressively cycled his whole deck to double Boom me and made it happen, but was 1 credit short. That sounds like an exciting game, though. That's really cool. All right, so this can get them access to a breaker in theory. Again, they can't botch us the Magnet, but they might not know. They have some money backed up. They know that we're a Sportsmetal, no surprise. So we could consider doing a Giardano and this agenda. Like, we have so many Giardanos of recursion that we can res this just to, like, spite them for 2 credits. It's probably okay. And I think we just take a credit here. Hey, Jake, I'm so excited the rotation will change things so much. Hey, Andre, how's it going? All right, they're popping it here. So they have Boomerang, that's good to know. They have Twinning, no surprise, but we don't see any companions here. We'll see if they're on anything else, but we do see a Hippo, Boomerang. Like, nothing here is surprising at all. This seems to be the most reg Hoshiko deck we could expect. Daily Cast and Hippo goes back. Okay, we're actually really weak into Hippo because we have a bunch of Byroids they can click through, like a Fairchild 3. So we're actually really scared of Hippo. Okay, now they want to install something to get Twinning, and we can lose to Twinning on R&D lock. So we have to watch out. Admittedly, though, we can always draw with our, when they steal those. So it's draw 2 or gain 2. I think we just draw game 2 here, because we're going to score this out. Maybe that's wrong. And now they get install something. Oh, wow, they got something. They got an agenda after Puemo. That's really good sequencing. That turned out to be really good for them. All right, we'll score this out. It's a 3-2, so we're even. Again, things can spiral out of control. I'm just going to gain the money. I don't know. But things can get worse for them if they start hitting Nightmare Archive, stuff like that. 45 card Hoshiko SMH. Going from 4 card combo to 5 card combo is a big difference, especially with no Cybernetic Court. Stargate, that's really bad. At least we have a Magnet for that. What are you talking about? If you're excited about rotation but want to reflect on what's leaving, you have 2 hours. I'll clear your morning tomorrow. Oh, is the video out tomorrow? Stargate sees Restore, Drafter, Spin Doctor. That's actually really hard, right? Because Drafter we want on R&D. If they trash the Spin Doctor, Restore can bring it back. So this seems like a pretty hard Stargate to do. I think the Ice is probably the most impactful thing. They went for the Restore. So now they're going HQ. We'd love them to hit the Nightmare here. They do. So now they take a core damage or -1 points. They're going for -1 points. That's sick. Remember that tech going, but not the huge part of the kill. Huh. Okay, so we know that we're drawing into a Drafter. And then underneath is the Spin Doctor. So they have no breakers so far. We definitely want to get the Drafter on R&D. Did they flush 2 from Twinning? Yeah, they flushed 2. Sorry, I didn't pay attention. But they saw the Hendrick. They flushed the whole HQ. So now they can just lock at the top of R&D and we're in a bad spot. So we'll do that. We'll put that in server 1. And then we'll put the Drafter on R&D. And we'll go from there. Obokata rotate when? Oh, in such a long time. We talked last week about keeling. And it was mentioned in chat. And I never thought about this. But like, how do we change keeling to make people happy about keeling? And I still think this doesn't fix it, but it was suggested, like, why don't we make keeling like the executives back in old Netrunner, where they specifically said, this is a strange Stargate run. Like, we have to res a Drafter here, but they know we have a Spin Doctor in their remote server. So like, this seems like a lot of resources for very little. Yeah, but what about if when you trashed her, she was added to a score area? And I actually think abilities like that, Elevagao, fast break, abilities like that, even if they just say when this thing is trash, remove it from game, would like help out things like Drago, where you can print powerful cards that are obviously powerful, but when they're trash, they're not coming back. And maybe that's a way to make things like that a bit more reasonable. I was just thinking, like, if in theory, if you ever manage to trash what's her name, a Keeling, the fact that she's added back to the score error actually really matters, because most of the decks are on mostly 5-3 agendas. So even getting worth 1 point does help you close the game out in a reasonable way. All right, Elevagao is really nice because we can res a Spin Doctor and de-res the Elevagao. So it's bad because we flood HQ a bit, but it's good because I like to do it. So here we can consider drawing 2. We don't discard. So we'll de-res that, and then we'll just gain 2. I think we need the money. Trash or trashed while resed? I think you have to do trashed while resed, otherwise the text doesn't work. But yeah, that's a bummer. Okay, they're getting rid of it. That's neat. They don't know we have a mag. They know we have a Magda in hand. This seems, again, like a lot of resources when we have a Spin Doctor on the table. Like, I think an Axis is better than a Stargate here. Well, maybe actually they just want to trash our points, but like we have a Spin Doctor here. On Cell, Rashida Hangeki. Okay. Rotates next year, but gets banned in the next ban list, hopefully. One agenda hard carrying an entire faction. I would argue that the 5-3s are all carrying their factions pretty heavily besides Wayland and HB. Like, okay, hold on. What happened? It's on Cell, they trash, so it's Rashida on the top. That's fine. This gives them an access, which is really important. And they can see multiple cards there. They didn't. All right, so we have a Hangeki. So we actually can Hangeki them. The problem is, like, I don't know what the Hangeki targets in this deck are. They seem very few and far between compared to the Sportsmetal or the Thule version where you can Hangeki literally anything. So here we will res. Buyback is pretty good. Again, we know that 2 hippos are out, so Fairchild on R&D seems relatively taxing. They know that we have the Hangeki in hand, and I think we probably stock buyback here. We have more in the deck. We also could have like fast break there, which is actually pretty good. I think that's our next thing when we're trying to want to score out behind, because the Giordano here is really good. Yeah, that might be wrong. I think maybe we want to ISO HQ there. It's hard to imagine anyone envision Drago being used 20x a game in testing. Yeah, but that's the sort of thing that, like, I think testing has to go out of the way to do. Be like, okay, this is a card. How do we break it? Like, you have to go out of the way to test out the extreme cases. And like, that's not criticism to the testing team, because I think they largely do a great job. I'm not part of the testing team. What am I going to talk poorly about that? But yeah, like, that's just what happens. Okay, now we lose the Giordano, which is pretty bad. So Spin Doctor spins back. Yeah, it's worth spinning back. So we're going to bring back 2 cards here. We have 2 more stock buybacks in the deck. 16 credits will get us pretty far. I think we'll do a Restore. That's a flexible card. And probably the on Cell. They have no breakers to their name so far, but now we're going to lose a Giordano for 3, which feels bad. Does anyone know how to spell the card he was talking about? Keeling? Was I saying the wrong thing again? Making Keeling only be resable on Corp turn or not getting the counter on res would also help. I would argue that resing Keeling, making Keeling only res on the Corpse turn does not change that much about it. Right, like the problem is like people don't enjoy losing to Keeling and the playstyle of Keeling. It's not, I don't think, the upfront power level of Keeling. It's just like losing to Keeling isn't fun. Okay, let's go for a fast break. We'll do all 3. Draw 3. So server 1, we can install a bunch of cards. So we'll get this in. Choose a card to install. Install one of those. Install one of those. Seems good. Obviously we have an ugly hand here. We'll draw once. That got worse. They can flush our entire hand next turn. We actually can lose next turn if I'm not mistaken. Holding 2 foods here is actually quite ugly. I didn't think it would get that bad. So I don't want to stock buyback because we'll get to less cards. Hey, you don't have to do while res. The rules allow for text to otherwise work while the card is inactive, but it makes a difference when you can lose a core part of the deck to singles off centrals. Okay, that is Fairchild on R&D. That's fine. We have most of our agendas in hand. One thing that I don't understand, the text of cards is only active when they are resed, barring ambushes, which get around it. If they have a card text that's on axis, it fires. Why do cards that say this can be advanced, why do they work face down? Streamer pronunciation. Keeling. I could see that card being very annoying. Like, why does that happen? This is really good. The Fairchild, they probably still have to trash their board. This leaves us on 7 credits. That's enough for a remote server. Well, yeah, why can you advance cards when the text says this can be advances on the other side of the card when it's not resed? The same reason that when this is accessed works. Which is, I don't understand that one. That one I don't agree with. They paid 3, okay. Everyone agrees it works. I think it's more than that. Ontological spin on Cell. I think here they probably get rid of the spin, which is scary because next turn they'll flush the ontologicals from hand, and then they probably win. Because again, we're holding 2, 4, 6, 8 points in hand. Yeah, exactly. So now they don't run back, so they run HQ next turn, and then we lose. Fermenter. I'm like so surprised how aggressive they've been on Stargate, and it's working out. It is definitely working out. So like, what do we do here? We draw into an unsell, put it on HQ. Maybe that's not even good. Like what? How do we recover from this? Am I messing up? But like, I feel like we've been in unwinnable positions consistently. Am I this bad at Sportsmetal? Like, I don't know how to play Sportsmetal when we're not jamming out. Right? Like this version doesn't have the managarms that I'm used to, where I can make things into a remote server and that will be good. Maybe we had to ice HQ once. Maybe the triple server was bad. We should ice HQ once. That's probably accurate, actually. I think we should have ice Q instead of putting 3 here, what we can't even afford. All right, well, server 1. All right, at least that looks like it's in the server now, I guess. It's in the rules. Because that's pretty much what the reason when you look it up in the CR. All rules rely on being able to prove that you weren't cheating later. Basically, if it's the text, only makes sense if it's active when the card is unresed, and the text is active when the card's unresed. I wish it was more intuitive than that. How's it going, by the way, Thomas? The rules explicitly say that abilities allowing cards to be advanced are active while the card is inactive. Like, what do you have to do? Do you have to, like... I would draw 2 here. Like, what is it required from us? Like, what about you put it in a box and everyone knows that cards in boxes are always online? So here we can lose. If they flush 4, we lose the game. Usually. Depending on when they hit the Nightmare Archives in order. Okay, that's bad. We'll draw 2. That could help. Hengeki. Oh, wow. I thought they'd go further with the twinning. Oh, it's up to 2. Yeah, right. Okay. If a card other than an agenda says that it can be advanced or you can advance that card, the card can be advanced even when it's unresed. So just literally because of rules. Which are like, yeah, that's fine. Same with abilities that can only ever work if in an active zone are still active, like Steel Skin. Okay, they have no breakers yet. We don't score that out, that's for sure. So we Hendrik. It doesn't go on R&D. Wait, where did the Stargate go? They trashed the Stargate. How did I miss that? They where did the Stargate go? Why? Because Paladin Puemo got hungry. Oh, Paladin Puemo's up to no good. Okay. So we could put the Hendrik on R&D. Fairchild HQ. That's fine. I think we'd rather have the Meridian on HQ. It still probably loses us the game. We'll put this on R&D. And throwing this in archives, like they have been checking archives. We could click for a credit here. I think that's fine. We'll throw this out. I don't actually like throwing out Nightmare Archives because they generally don't check archives and they will check HQ. So I'm going to actually throw out this ice that I don't know if we're going to be afford to res. Paladin trashed it. Big dinner. He hungry. It's a she. Paladin's a she. I think all the companions are she. Yeah. I wish they did that more. Sports. Cat, how's it going? I've not been enjoying the sports deck. I have been struggling to do anything. How's it going, by the way? Hippo? Okay. So that Fairchild's going down eventually. If only we had another piece of ice. It feels very poor. It does feel very poor. It feels like the poorness of Thule without the coolness of Thule. And we've been getting rolled really hard. Like scoring out this agenda feels bad. I remember reading a post where the person that didn't have problems with agenda flooding because they just installed them as ice, the runner couldn't access them. Wait, this is perverse. This is not allowed. This is not an allowed Netrunner play. You're not allowed to make the botulus touch. Because if the botulus touch is really bad, stop it. Stop drawing agendas. If they touch, they spread. If they spread, it's bad. So do we just trash this and put a Meridian there? I think we do. I wish I had it on sell now. Okay. Best of both worlds. Girl gang, gamer girl gang. It doesn't say you can install an agenda as a piece of ice. It probably does. The FFG manual says advancing a card for and one less the corporation adds one advancement token on installed card. Agendas can always be advanced while installed. Cards that other than agendas can only be advanced if their text box allows it. Sure, but like golden rule or something, right? Like if one of their weird rules says you can do it, but another one of their weird rules says you can't do it, who wins? We're on game point. They have to run our cursed remote server. They have breaker. All three have breaker. We can put thing in remote server. If they take 1 core damage, we will not win game. Meridian, magnet, magnet. We built a double magnet server. That is so messed up. That cost them nothing. 3-3. This frightens me. I really wish we had a biotic. I do think we put the Rashid in there and then just hope that it draws into a Giordano and they don't pinhole it because we lose. It's a new one. I think I've seen it once or twice before, the double botulus, but like all eggs in one basket, right? Oh, I love it. Love it. Eat my Meridian. Go. I believe can't supersides in that case. Yeah. Golden rule or whatever. What about the botuli held hands at the Fairchild? All right, they're breaking this. This is good. This is why we don't put points near. They're actually paying money for that. They actually hippoed that. That's the 3rd hippo gone. That ice, I don't know if you hippo. It costs 3 credits. All right, let's keep going. Magnet. All right. I guess the interpretation that allows face down agendas to be advanced and scored is always going to win given the entire game collapses. But agendas don't say they can be advanced. Agendas are just agendas. But face down cards say that their text can't, right? Like you can't, right? Like I'm okay with that being a rule based off of agendas. But now, card text better than rules text though? Is it really that simple? Cror, have you seen the way that they reprinted Demolition Run? Because it is the wildest thing I've ever seen. And it makes me so excited about the future Netrunner design. Can we just have a Giordano? That would be cool. Okay, well, this is where we do the play. Server 1, Hangeki, holding only agendas, but with no regard for us. Just no regard. So they trash the card. So Hangeki says either they access it. Okay. All right. They took 1 core damage. Is that good enough for us to win the game? Heavens no, it's not. I don't understand how you do more than 1 core damage consistently with this deck. Ah, here. This is where we lose the game. This is where you lose the game. When you're only holding 3 agendas here. And they're definitely going to dump their whole 20 in it. So yeah, we've lost the game. But like, I don't know how we fix this. The alternative is what? Card text that's active when their face down is printed on the back too? No, you write the card text in a box, right? Like Ashes does it, where any card that's in a text box is active even if the card is exhausted, right? Like something like that. And that would be like, oh, I understand that that text is active even if the card isn't rezzed. All right, we lost. Actually, no, maybe not. We draw. Oh, no, we lost. Yeah, that's what the hand we needed. That's what we needed there. Hey, good game. Thanks for the game. I do not understand this deck. I don't get it. Did we draw really bad? Like, it feels like this Giordano is the entire deck. Because I don't understand how we can't fast advance. So we're just trying to score behind ice. But like, it's all such middling ice. No. Nah. I was just fishing for a Giordano. Yeah. If the text of a card, hold on, I lost that. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even register how much money we went down to. And merely they steal there, we get 2. Thanks for the game, eh? But yeah, I don't think we were even close there. Styling text differently that's active when face down or in other weird situations is a good idea. Yeah, I think that's clear. It's like you don't get the confusion potentially on like things like Maryland, right? Hey, cheers. Yeah, I don't understand how you do 2 core damage in this deck. It feels like the runner has to allow you to do 2 core damage, and I don't see why that would happen. Like maybe they click through a Fairchild and you hit them with that surprise Hendrick, but like that seems difficult. I don't know. I'd rather play Fast Advance Sports by a mile. I don't know why. Is that like very tuned to ESSA where like you're playing a bit? I enjoy the fact that you write out A. It's because that's what you say. It's a Canadianism. I think we could definitely use some sort of active wall and active marker on cards, but only for legibility reasons. At the moment, the rules do cover all of this. Yeah. It's not so much the rules. It's just like reminder text sort of thing. Oh, there's Seb trying to play the busted ESSA combo thing. So this is the thing that's like totally been tickling me. Still trying to work on my own set. This is so goofy. This is an event that has a paid ability on it. What? What? Is that not the coolest thing in the whole game? Can an event have interface on it? Or is interface inherently icebreakers? Or does the interface text say any card can only break subroutines if they've interfaced? Can I make an event that has strength that can break subroutines? Because is that a cool design space? This is like the wackiest thing to me and absolutely made me reevaluate Netrunner. This is so neat. I'm into this really heavily. Agendas can always be advanced if a card other than agenda says that can be advanced or that you can advance. That card can be advanced even while it's unrealized. Yeah. Event doesn't have strength, so can't interface. So I can't write on this like this event has 2 strength. Or like, can I give an event strength? I don't think I can give an event strength. But like, could I say this is base strength? How do I make this an icebreaker? How do I make a Mayfly you play as a run? I think this is so cool. I think seeing events that have paid abilities on it is like next level. I'm so excited what you could do with that. But like this formatting absolutely got me off guard. In a custom set, I think you could define it to have a base strength. I don't know if you can print it with base strength because I think card formatting is actually like specified in the rules itself, the same way subtypes are. But like no one's going to stop you making subtypes on your custom set. So cool. So cool. This is so weird. This card is bad, but like, man, if this card costs 1 credit, I don't know. Sounds like we need tokens. Just don't put interface on the ability, give it 1 credit, break 1 subroutine. But then it would work. Yeah, you're right. That would work. Well, it might not be what you want for the ice to do, but you're right. It works the same way that boomerang works, where like this doesn't need interface because it's not specifically on a strength icebreaker. So you're right. If you just do credit break subroutine, it works. The same way also Quetzal works. But like if you do want to have a run-based event that has like 3 strength that goes through all type ice, I'm kind of into it. It's cool. Yeah, custom rule it. Yeah, for custom set. The event is considered an icebreaker program while in play area and has 2 strength. Yeah, that's so cool. And fetch from out of game. I would want a card like this to fetch itself from the heap whenever you steal or an agenda scored. Something like that. I don't know what maybe when an agenda is scored or something like that. Like I think there's cool ways where you have to make it probably playable more than once in the whole game because it's an event, but you can make it good. I could see that being really cool, especially also if you have event support in your package inherently. All right, David style breaking could be cool in an event. Yeah, exactly, right? Like I think there's a lot of cool cards like that kind of work. Install a token piece of AI with blah, blah, blah. But I don't think you can install an event. That's the difference, right? Like you play it and it's gone. I don't know. It's cool. It tickles me. All right, let's do some news real quick. Canadian National Championships 2023 East Coast Edition. This is the nationals that we are running. And if you're coming out, this is August 26th, 27th in Montreal in the summer. I tell you, it's going to be a fantastic time. This is the first big event I've organized. I'm super stoked for it. I'm really happy to say today that the ticket page is finally up on the Silver Goblin website. So I'll have a link in the YouTube description. I'm going to throw a link in here. If you're looking to attend the event, tickets, $40 Canadian. It gets you into the event. We got the extended prize pool, so there's going to be a lot of stuff for everyone. And on top of that, we're going to have an exclusive card for this event. More details in the near future. Really stoked about it. I'll add that to here this evening. So if you can get to this page, and if you're coming to the event and you want to come to the event, if you want to buy a ticket already, say that you registered here, both of that stuff really helps us know the capacity size and stuff like that. So the sooner the later, because we do have a max capacity. No idea if we're going to hit it, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. So super stoked for that we can have that up. Again, we're going to be talking more about that the sooner it comes. It's also the end of August, so I'm like pretty hard hedging that we're going to have the new set and new legality and new rotation into play by the time this exists. Mind you, there's new events coming up. I think the next big event is the East Coast Nationals, which is at the end of August, exactly 1 month from now. And knowing whether that's going to be a new meta or not, it's like a bit dicey. So I think we're going to be excited to see what happens anyways. I don't think writing in a Netrunner is better than just putting a 2 strength circle in the corner. I think it might be, Izzy. I worry that it is because rules. Tokyo news. We had some delightful Netrunner visitors from the Dallas meta this week. Played a bunch of reboot with them and great times were had. Oh, that's really cool. Air horn noises. Yeah, Sophie, you know it's good. You can install events. On the Lam exists. Isn't On the Lam hosted? Is that the only event? On the Lam, install On the Lam on as a resource. It doesn't say as a condition counter. That's really weird to me. Oh, as in condition counter, it does. But most condition counters aren't installed. What the hell? Is this like MCA informant is not installed? It's host this operation on an installed connection. Why? Why is it like this? Why is it not consistent? Why is this one hosted and this one installed? Huh? So this is the install cost? No, it's a play cost. You can probably also say make a run on a server. During the run, treat this event as an icebreaker with strength 3 and has the ability to interface 0 break 1 subroutine. Yeah, I think that's the clearest way. You just write it out. which I've been so excited looking at card design to figure out how people write stuff out that avoids the use of X. And there's some really good ways to do it because, oh my God, X. Cool. We'll have more news about this obviously going on. I'll put up a video, stuff like that. We'll be talking about the meta. We're going to have a startup tournament on the second day, which again, if it's a new startup format on Sunday, that's super exciting, but I'm really excited for this event. So we'll see. NSG is organized. FFG is just like that. Well, that's a bit sad. Speaking of organized, hey, Sangram put this up. This is the organized play policies update. Sangram's been working on this for a really long time. So this is a new document. The link is in here. This again will all be in the description. That basically has the organized play policy sheet, but it is not only has new content to it, but it also is organized in a way that I think is really, really conducive for all sorts of different people that need to interface with this document. So are you staff, a tournament organizer? Are you just a player? Are you like, you know, infraction penalties? Are you judge? It's really nice the way that this is organized, and it's all like hyperlinked, and it's sick. There's also some like really big changes in this document. I think there's some bullet points here. I haven't had the ability to read through the whole document so far, but largely more detailed guidelines on standard for alt arts and proxies in competitive events. That's definitely a hot topic issue. I know as a caster and a streamer, we've had issues where like we can't tell what alt arts are on camera, and we do our best to make that obvious, but that's a real big thing for Netrunner right now, where proxies are entirely legal. Removal of tiebreaker rounds is interesting. I think that was always a really weird thing that kind of dragged on tournaments. Allow TOs to run single-sided Swiss events. I'm a huge fan of single-sided Swiss so far. We've been trying to do it this summer in Montreal, and I liked it a heck of a lot. It's very likely what Nationals is going to be later this summer, but now it is a thing that you can officially run all competitive tier events. I think technically all the single-sided events to date have technically been gray space legality, but nobody cares. And the expanded guidelines for oracles and other accessibility accommodations for players. This is an absurd amount of work, so shout out for Jeff for getting this together. Again, if you want to read through this, if you have any questions or you have any comments, stuff like that, I reckon you know where to find him and give your feedback, because again, this is definitely meant to be a living document, and as frustrating as it might be to be finished on this massive, you know, I don't want to say Sisyphean because that sounds a bit negative, but like this is a massive amount of work, and then, you know, you got to update it, but like this is for players as much as it is for null signal games, of course. So if you have any feedback, look through that. That's really good fun. Jeff is an absolute monster getting this out himself. I know, this is like ridiculous. How do you do this? Like, I thought this would be, is this in latex? Is this what latex looks like? It's been a while since I've seen that. Oversight says install? From the people who brought you cybernetic and cybernetic subtype? We don't talk about that cycle. MCA does actually say install. They changed the wording when they eroded it. Pretty much every other condition counter says install. No, there's no way. Install patch. Okay, maybe. Maybe search condition subtype. Anyways, this is sick. I think the only last news we have today is there was an update here from a day ago, a final update from me and Unmac. I did not realize that Lego Rockman last week is actually an Arco, and an Arco made comments about it in the chat, and I totally missed it. So in short, if you want to read this, there's a bunch of swears in it. We're not going to read it word for word, but in short, as protest to the API changes and Spez, the CEO or whatever, Reddit being a pretty much a shithead. What they're going to do is, it looks like the agreement here is r/Netrunner, which has been silent. It's been locked out for 2 weeks, and now it's been open, but it's been locked so people can't post. From now on, it is open, but there's going to be absolutely zero moderation. It's obviously very scary, but the idea here is that moderation is a very expensive thing to do for people to do. They require API access, let alone they require time from it, and keeping that away from people and still demanding that you make their website worth money to shareholders is a bit ridiculous. So the foot has been put down here. There's also some really good points about accessibility. I know I mentioned when we talked about this before that API access was really important to apps that are required for people that require certain features to interface with Netrunner. Accessibility features largely. And I know I was told that a lot of those API costs were going to be waived for accessibility apps. I don't think that's actually the case. It's highlighted here that it's not exactly as, you know, as clear as it should be. So there's a lot of reason to be really upset. But shout out again. Every time I say this, it seems like I'm negative about the decisions that are being made. I talked about how r/Netrunner is a really important spot, and it's cool that this is open again and people are posting in it, but it's going to be entirely unmoderated. So that means you can absolutely ruin the space if you really put your heart to it, which is like kind of intimidating and wild. But I stand by the mods here. Like that is, I think, probably the right call. It's a very hard decision, but for now, r/Netrunner is back up and running. If you want to, I don't want to say shit post in it, but you could. And unfortunately, that's just going to be the way it is. So we'll see how long it takes before it entirely collapses to robots selling you dick pills. Well, that's the internet. Jeff is a smart dude. This is not in latex, though. I definitely thought about it. It was the only person who I ever had touch the OPP. I might have done it in latex. And while I appreciate the praise, it wasn't entirely solo effort. All right. Shout outs to the whole team. Reddit moment. I can't. What do you mean, Scrub? How's it going? Anywho, I think that's the news for this week. There's there's more news. This is a good one, I guess. Hold on. We're taking a week off streaming, not next week. We'll be around for next week, but we'll take a week off the following week after that. So there's going to be a week in the middle of July, where there's going to be no Netrunner stream. I just won't be around for that time. So as a reconciliation, this Sunday, I'll be streaming in the afternoon, and I'll probably be streaming for like a long time. So 6 hours, maybe 8 hours, but it'll be in the morning through afternoon. So it's a time zone that makes sense for a lot more people than just like largely East Coast and West Coast of the side of the hemisphere. So yeah, tune in. We'll be here on Sunday, just goofing around. On that note, it's a long stream, and like it's not very structured, as it almost never is. So if you have any ideas of deck lists you want to submit, if you have any questions, FAQs, whatever you want to do, AMA, we're just going to do it there. So if you have a really cool deck list, post in the comments, and I'll probably play it, unless it's offensive. I'm excited for it. It's been a while since we've done like a long form stream, let alone a stream on a weekend, and those are always really fun. All right, time to make sure TIA announcement hits that week. What's that? TIA? People are taking Slim Stack forums back over their posts. Oh, that's really cool to know. Yeah, I think they are posting on Reddit that every post is going to start with like a banner thing that says like, hey, we're not really here if you want to be part of the conversation, and they'll link you to like GLC and stuff like that. To be fair, I watch the stream from Australia every week. Lucas, that's true, actually. No, it is a reasonable time zone for APAC because it's like Friday morning and afternoon. That actually lines up pretty well. Mornings are also really good, but even afternoon's not so good. Okay, I think that's it. So see you on Sunday if you want to be around for that. I'm going to be there out of contractual obligation at this point. I think that's it for the news. Let's go. Okay. Let's build a deck list. This is something that came up, so I've known about this for a long time coming now, as long as that is. This Sunday, yeah, exactly, this Sunday. So it's like the second, I think it is. So it's a long weekend, I think, in the States because of July 4th. It's a long weekend in Canada too, because July 1st. Canada is technically older than America by 3 days. Don't look into that. So Bridgman is I'm a really big fan of Bridgman and Bridgman's deck building. Bridgman's playing. I got to meet Bridgman briefly at Worlds. Fantastic guy. And Bridgman built some really cool decks. Bridgman also streams. He has a YouTube channel where he does Netrunner content. He also does some other card game content. And I ended up watching a bunch of like Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, and I have a basic idea how you play Harry Potter card game now. But Bridgman had this event. It's the Welcome Sokka tourney, because Sokka is doing, mind you, Sokka, the reigning world champion, is doing some sort of European tour. So he barely gets his own tournament in the Nordics, which I think is pretty impressive. And I think Sokka and Bridgman made a challenge for themselves to play IDs that are pretty bad. And so Bridgman won this tournament playing Khan, who is pretty unsalvageable, and then Spark, who is pretty okay, but probably less powerful than any of the other options. On the other side, and you can see all the deck lists here, I think Sokka was playing the one that we had as a spoiler card many moons ago, whatever this one is called. I forget what it's called, actually. Hyobu Institute. And then also playing Akiko. So yeah, this deck, I think I've seen Sokka on stream play before, and it seems okay. It seems massively fair, but like reasonable enough. It has a pretty good economy. It's running some strange stuff for exposed synergy, but otherwise you're just scoring out agendas behind Anoetic Void. And you can run this 5-3 package pretty easily because there are 2-1s in every faction that are playable. This deck is really cool. But it was most exciting to see what Bridgman did with Khan. And because Khan's ability, Khan is a really underpowered runner, just in general. 12 influence is pretty bad. 40 deck size is pretty good. And just such a limited and strange ability that you would expect to see on a Shaper runner way sooner than you see on a Criminal runner. And generally, anytime that you see a Criminal that's more Shaper than Criminal, that's the sort of Criminal that I enjoy. I'm a big Az fan, a big Geist fan, and Khan kind of seems like they would fall into this category. It says the first time you pass a piece of ice each turn, you may install an Icebreaker from your hand, lowering the install cost by 1. Now, Khan came out alongside this cast of Falcons, so you had things like Peregrine, Saker, Golden, and all these Falcons are cards that you had to consistently reinstall over and over again. Inherently, they're incredibly expensive to break ice with because the numbers are very bad, they're very expensive to install, and then it's an extra premium, 2 credits to return this to your hand to de-res a piece of ice. And the idea is with Khan, you're saving not only a click to install the bird that you just used to de-res an ice, but you're also saving a credit. And that is still really, really bad. It does not salvage these cards. And I'd say to some extent, like, I really don't want these bird breakers to ever be good because playing against de-res is not particularly interesting or fun. So it's just never picked off. And then on top of it, 12 influence. It's really hard to say what he can do to con to make it good. This install cost by 1 is not great. The fact that this is only an icebreaker is pretty bad. There's the Automata initiative. Time to make sure. Oh, hold on. Jeff, yeah, if you can make it announced tomorrow, that'd be sick. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. It's usually on Fridays, but like, I'm really excited for news because I also think that people running East Coast Nationals are really excited. Anyways, not a good ability. And so I was super excited to see what Bridgman would do with this list. And it's not doing much with con. I think Bridgman and like talked about this, and you can watch the stream. Bridgman streamed earlier this week and did this. Again, link to this will be in the description. But largely this is just an as deck that's playing con, which is a bit unfortunate, and kind of talks about like how con doesn't really functionally work. So we built a worse as deck. Earlier this week, I've been playing some as, and I really like these sort of as decks, like the 3-up, usually Masterwork decks. They're running like Prognostic Q Loop and this whole package so you can install your hardware clicklessly. It is one of my most favorite decks of all time. And while it's kind of a slight of this deck, because I was excited to see more con stuff, it's admittedly, this is still a reasonable deck, but probably would be strictly better if you didn't play con and you just played as, and that's totally fine. So we're going to play some as. Again, shout out if you want to watch Bridgman play this deck and some other as decks. The link will be in the description. Check out his stuff, subscribe to his channel. It's very good. As much as I don't like this deck, it is very, very good. Cool. Let's check it out. I love Aztecs. It's been a while since I played one. Again, I played one earlier this week, if I'm not mistaken, during like a degree mill session. And it was very satisfying just to go through the lines because it's been a minute since we played that sort of deck. I have to delete some decks. My joke was for the week you're off. Ah, shit. Honestly, it is going to be. I have no doubt the week that I'm off is going to be when the TAIA stuff is like going on, and we're not going to have like we're not going to be able to talk about it, and it's going to be pretty bad. Let's just, Wands Accord seems like a fun deck to keep. Millhouse Leela seems like a fun. Enlightenment equals yes. Let's get rid of White Hat. Okay. All right, with selection, delete all decks selected. Oh, this is the thing I was also meant to say in the news, and I think this is relatively important. So for those who don't know, huge shout out to all the folks on Patreon that helping support the channel. Your support is absolutely the most important. It helps me put the time into this channel. We've been pretty bad at putting video content out, I'll admit about that, but it's greatly appreciated for those who want this sort of content to exist. So appreciate it. One of the things we do in Patreon is we have a degree mill, a tier where it's at a higher level in which every month there's sessions where we sit down. It's like about a 2-hour session, and we go and basically do a one-on-one session to talk about and improve Netrunner. Largely this is targeted mostly at players who are either like new to the format or just trying to play competitively and want that extra level up, that extra kind of little boost. And it's been a really satisfying thing. I think we have about a half a dozen people right now in the session. There's some people that do it outside of the degree mill that just do it on a non-consistent basis. And all I want to say is that if you're interested in that sort of thing and you want to hear more, I do have more slots open right now. I'm looking to make more time for those sessions because I've been finding them very satisfying. So if that's something that's interesting to you, hit me up wherever you can find me. metropolegrid@gmail.com is one of the easiest ways, or if you have me specifically on Discord, you can hit me up there. But if that's something you're looking into, maybe you just want to try a session because you're getting ready for like a national, something like that, you know where to find me. And I'm hoping we can make it worth your time. All right, let's do it. I'm getting really warm. I think I have to put on the AC on. I think I'm falling apart a wee bit. All right, let's do as. Okay. So I think I shared my partner from the other room. She's like, wait, the AC is off? Yeah, she's cooking. Hold on. Making Ace of Boom tier 1 has proven to be more difficult than expected. Seb, I saw you in another room in a JNet lobby. What's happening? How much worse did the audio suddenly get when I turned that on? Okay, so I like as a fair bit. The cool thing that we have going on here is as has Masterwork as a console, and that means that we can install a lot of cards clicklessly. That's a really important thing. As says specifically the first time a turn we install a piece of hardware, a job resource, not a real subtype in the game, and a connection resource, a realer subtype, you pay 1 credit fewer. And that's really important because once per turn means that we have a bunch of cards that allow us to install cards on our opponent's turn, so we can double dip on this value and it actually gets a fair bit better. Another thing inherently with hardware is that hardware is pretty low on tempo. It's the sort of card that you install and it'll do something 2-3 turns down the line. If you compare that to things like events that do something right now, right then and there, it's a harder kind of sale. That you don't see a lot of decks in Netrunner in general that are running more hardware than they're running more of anything else in their deck. And this I'd argue is one of the few decks that can get away with it. So that's why I really like this ability. And then we can pile this on with all the other fun stuff we have. Firstly, Masterwork. For 2 credits, and mind you, this comes down for 1 credit, we get 1 MU. That's a nice start. And it says the first time each turn we install a piece of hardware, draw a card. So this on its own is a 1 credit cantrip, which is really nice. And then from that point on, we're trying to install a hardware once a turn. Why don't we get a free card draw from it? That's one of my favorite things in Netrunner. Anytime that you have a card, an engine that has free card draw baked into it, it's one of my favorite things to do because card draw is awesome. It allows you to have more choices, gets you deeper into the deck to play all those 46 cards you decided on. Also, whenever a run begins, you may pay and install a piece of hardware paying 1 credit more. Such a strong ability. 1 credit more is not a paid ability. So technically Az's account or Az's reduction reduces into that. So even if you install 0 cost hardware, it installs for 0 cost, which is really nice. But that basically, you pay Az's ability to be able to install your hardware clicklessly. And that's really nice, especially at the beginning of a run. That's really good. And this is a whenever clause. So abstractly, if you're running 4 times, you can get 4 clickless installs, and that's very powerful. Hey, Dajin, Bridgman deck proves how strong the card pool of Criminal is good when a blank Criminal wins a tournament. Also, he's a very good player. I don't know if it's exactly that because it's a very specifically weird Criminal deck. And I'd say that right now the Criminal card pool isn't particularly good. For what that's worth, I think like every deck they played is like, you can argue like, did a Kiko win or did the Shaper card pool win or did Sako win? I think it's all largely the same. But like, I don't think Criminal has the best card pool compared to like Anarch by a mile. So I don't know. Can you win with the blank Anarch? It's possible. You kind of want card draw though, don't you? So this is a really important part of your kit, and now we can get away with playing a bunch of hardware that we can install clicklessly, which is really good. One of the main contenders here is Boomerang, because this is a card you install multiple times, and installing it clicklessly at the beginning of the run is fantastic. It means we can be super aggressive where we don't have to spend a click to install this. We just run and we get this thing down at the beginning of the run. Fantastic. We're also pretty good at running like all the 1M niche hardware that we can install clicklessly. So like maybe we cut this 1M Docklins Pass is sick. Flip Switch largely shows up into decks. It's a card that you could consider cutting. It's the one sort of deck that you can get this down pretty early. If your meta has a lot of really scary face checks, if you're playing against Personal Evolution or Acme, stuff like that, you can probably play 1 or 2 of these relatively well. I'd argue that you can get to a spot where you might not need them, but like they're always a fun include. It's a fun card. All right, what else we got? Panweave. I don't like this card. I feel like HQ gets iced up a bit too heavily against Criminals as much as we can install this for 1 credit, draw a card, clicklessly, all that good stuff. I don't know. I always never love installing Panweave. Maybe that's on me. This is a card that I wish could work out, and it largely doesn't because we don't have a really good way to get value from Poison Vial. But like this seems so quintessentially like a really good card for an Az list. And I think the only ways that you can make Poison Vial make any sense, firstly, and what this card does, it allows you to break extra subroutines on something that you've broken. So the idea is that you can Boomerang and break a 3 subroutine piece of ice, a 4 subroutine piece of ice. I'd argue that doesn't happen that much, that it's not worth a slot. But then the other things you can play, and I think there's a really good or really interesting deck. I haven't played enough with it online. That's playing 3 Botulus and Az, and I think that's kind of cool. It's Botulus, and so you can break 1 virus counter and use counters off your Poison Vial. That's neat. And then if you really want to go this way, which I feel like is just kind of anti-synergistic with the deck as a whole, and you don't get enough value from it, you could consider playing Kongamato and Gabali. These cryptids are one-time shots that allow you to break a subroutine, either the first or the last, depending if you're playing Kongamato or Gabali, respectively. And so the idea is that you can play Kongamato, and then you can also play Poison Vial, and you can get through a single ice once. I'd argue that because we don't have that sort of engine that we used to have of Geist and Tech Trader, this card is actually like pretty bad on tempo. We're paying 2 credits once to break a single piece of ice. Like that just doesn't pile up well comparatively to all the other options we can to cheat through ice, let alone in Criminal. So I'm not too excited about this, which is really difficult because I feel like Poison Vial does not have a good target in this deck. And this deck is like really looking for a good target. Kongamato and Gabali love Poison Vial. They do, but like this card does not seem that good in this deck where like, again, it costs a click to install and like, that's not that much better than anything else we're doing. I think you maybe can get away with it if you're running the back, but then I don't know what other things you're running into the deck because this thing lets you recur your cryptids and maybe that's good enough, but I don't know. Hard pushed. I've noted a 40 card deck gets a Boomerang much more consistently. Yeah, that's one of the upsides, I think, to the only upside I'll say to Con is that a 40 card deck is a bit more consistent at getting down your like early Boomerang, or sorry, not Boomerang, your early Masterwork. That's way more important. What's that weapon virus tutor? Maybe that would be a nice combo with Poison Vial Botulus. Yeah, it's like, okay. That's Pula, Asmund Pula. I have not seen this card do anything really cool. I think this card is going to be more interesting come rotation if they print a good virus breaker or two. This is the sort of card you might see in like factions like Anarch that maybe are missing some sort of consistency at finding their pieces once the bin breakers are gone. I'm not sure. If there's better weapon breakers, which we're promised more weapon breakers going forward, again, this could be a more interesting piece, even for criminal lists. Right now, the criminal killer programs or weapon programs don't see a lot of play. So it's kind of hard. You're generally running like one or two strange cards in your deck. And even then, this card is probably a bit worse than just like playing any other generic card draw. Admittedly for Az it's a connection, but Az doesn't struggle to fire Az's ability once a turn, but I've been super underwhelmed with Azmoon from what I played so far. And like, I don't know what we're getting. Like, do we want to pay 2 credits on turn 1 to get a poison vial and then spend more money on it? Like, no, we'll draw it when we'll draw it, right? Like, this is more important if the piece that you want is the piece you need. So like pulling an Amakua is like a good virus. Pulling a Tapworm is like, okay, I guess. It's hard. You want to get installs off R&D or from hand with Q-Loop Masterwork, which is anti-synergy with Asmund. Yeah, that too. Like, well, you can add these to hand. You don't have to install them, right? Yeah, so they go to your grip, so eventually you get them installed, but like, Prognostic wants to be off the top of your deck, but that's kind of niche. Like, you don't always consistently get it. Revolver and Palangi is quite strong. I'd argue that's like, I don't even know. I don't know. Maybe. That's really hard, though. Like, we have limited Revolver charges, limited Palangi charges. Are you better off not just like boomeranging and going through stuff? I think it's like if I'm revolvering and Palangi, I think I'd rather paperclip Palangi. I think you get further with it and it's not that much more expensive, right? It's cool though. I think Palangi is a bit underexplored and I think the viruses are slowing down a wee bit. Hey Brennan, how's it going? It's the grid. Welcome. All right, other things we can play. Zenith chip, definitely good. It's a hardware. It does kind of mess up your prognostic Q-loop draw, and I think Class Act falls into the same camp. It just kind of messes up your draw ordering, which you care about with prognostic, so it's a bit tricky. But I think you play it. I think you play one of Wake Implant. It's just some multi-axis you have. Otherwise, I think the only other hardware I'm excited to play is Prognostic, and I really want to convince myself to play 3 of these. It's usually not true, but this card allows you to pay credits from things like Chezwa to install cards off the top of your deck. It also allows you to install cards on the corporation's turn, specifically hardware or programs, which is really good because it double dips into Masterwork, it double dips into Az, and allows you to set up. Inherently, what this card does is busted powerful. Spending a credit to take a card from the top of your deck and get it on the table for 0 clicks is absurd. And I do think that this card is a huge engine piece and it's probably decks that haven't existed yet and might exist in the future. It just, you need a deck that runs mostly programs or hardware. So like in the future, Shaper out of 10, like this could be the coolest card. Because again, for no clicks, taking a card from your deck and putting it on the table is messed up powerful. And this is one of the few decks that can run it consistently. And it's just a good ability. The once and future guys. There's like no way that like a Haley deck would not consider playing this, considering Haley decks only wanted to play events. And the problem is like they don't really want to play a lot of hardware, but you know what I mean? Like there's something really cool in there. There was a time when Palangi was ubiquitous and people were complaining it was busted, then Sandbox meta caught on, we never saw it again. Hey Rikatha, yeah, I do think Palangi is a card that's a bit underexplored and might be the sort of like piece that makes some more aggressive shapers a bit more viable, but it is a massively powered card. I miss Tech Trader so much. Thomas, I do too. Maybe it's good that we move on, but Tech Trader was like, yeah, the Geist card. I miss Geist more than, I guess they're all the same idea. Asmoon for Amakua Leech felt good until you hit a deck running Mavirus. Thanos, yeah, I still play Leech Amakua, but I don't know if you need Asmoon for it. Shaper hardware engine is lacking, yeah. And Shaper has like all these weird pieces that like kind of suggest a hardware engine exists, and it doesn't really. All right, so programs. We have to figure out what our breaker suite is. We definitely want breakers. At some point in time, I played Abagnale when you're trying to play more trash cans in the deck. I do think you're incentivized to run some amount of Amakuas as you largely are. Maybe 1 is good enough. You want to play a killer, so we play Bugalter. I don't think there's a huge incentive to run Revolver in this meta. I think Revolver might be actually a fair bit better in startup where there actually are big sentry face checks because sentries are harder to break in the format, but Revolver doesn't seem entirely necessary in this format. And like, we're not running Simulchip. And again, I think the deck can easily run Simulchip and then maybe you're running other stuff. I think Botulus also makes sense in this deck. Hey, Michael, last year I was so into Netrunner, but stopped because my friend stopped playing and playing randoms on Jateki is a bit daunting because I'm terrible. Michael, firstly, how's it going? Don't worry about being terrible. I think a lot of people are terrible. What you want to do is you want to find people that are equally terrible. And like, if you're not part of Green Level Clearance Discord, hit them up because it's so easy to say like looking for a game. I'm casual. Like I've played only so much and you'll find someone of your level. So like, if you know this game is sick, which I think you do, I would not like, you can get through that boundary of finding people and let alone you'll make friends. Also, if you're in a meta, check on there because there's definitely people in your area that are looking to play and you'll probably make a friend, which is sick. Feels like a bit hard to run Plongy now when so much econ is relying on Fermenter. A Plongy Fermenter is just asking for a purge. I guess the Shapers are still running a Botulus, huh? I feel like this deck runs Botular and Botulus as well. Okay, what else do we want to run in this? Right? Like, this is where the breaker suite for Criminal falls apart. Abagnale's a bit expensive. Not Abagnale, sorry. Amina's a bit expensive in this deck, and it's hard to like kind of get it going fast enough where like maybe you can just get away with playing a Cat's Cradle. Cat's Cradle is pretty ass, but ideally you're using Boomerang to deal with the big stuff, and you have Chesva for the central servers, so maybe we can get away with this. So we'll do that. Chesva, we have 2 of them. Maybe 3. I like 3 if we're playing 3 prognostic Q loop, but then we have to figure out some way to be able to make cheap runs off of R&D, or not cheap runs, but runs on central servers that are beneficial. I know, excuse me, Bridgman was running like security testing, which it's not a card I've been excited about in a long time. I know I played red team at some point in the past, which like technically is a job, I'm pretty sure. So like whatever. And we don't play that many run events. So it's kind of hard to find what that is. But like the idea that running, you know, you run archives, use your Chesva credits to install a hardware, prognostic to install a program, draw a card. It's kind of sick. It's kind of really, really good. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I hope you're doing well as well. I am. Thank you. Last place in a recent tournament right here. Right, that's funny. Okay, resources. We have some good stuff here. I'm a big fan of Bocklin Botchkin. I think this card is better than it looks, but maybe we don't struggle with ice. Let's hope we don't. Otherwise, we have things that are necessary. I think we want to play for sure Class Act. It's really weird that for a while I did not like to play Class Act and As, because knowing the top of your deck is like so important if you want a prognostic Q loop. And as soon as you draw once with Class Act, it ruins your prognostic Q loop stack. This card is definitely still worth playing, let alone it is a connection resource, so we get it down for 1 cheaper, but at the end of the day, it's actually kind of awkward in the matchup. It sometimes can be pretty rough. Also, Miss Bones probably can run 2 if you really want to do your medicine. Running 1 is probably fine, but if you're running into a meta with assets, just play 2 of these. We install it for 1 credit. You gain 11 credits to trash assets on turn 1. Like, that's such an easy card to put in this deck. We didn't do events. We'll do events really quickly. I just hate that we put 3 Bravado in every criminal deck, but it's hard not to. Diversion of funds, 3 of it's really powerful too, because we're very good at getting early boomerangs down, so we get those off pretty hard. Join one of the leagues. Yo, Hedonism, that's a really good shout out. Yeah, Michael, people already have your back. That's pretty sick. What else do we want to play? Pinhole Threading feels like a card that if you want slots for it, you should have it. Pinhole's still really good in the meta. Diet of Keeling, it's fine. Mutual Favor as a 1-of is like a possibility. I've always liked cards like this that allow you to shuffle your deck to some extent when you know the top with Prognostic is pretty ugly, but maybe that's a bit ugly. Maybe we don't need this. We'll play 1 and we'll cut it. Otherwise, I don't know what else we really want to run. Sure, Gamble for 3. We have 15 influence to work with. I think there was a version of this deck that Limes posted that was also on Hippo, and like, yeah, it's a hardware that costs 10 influence, and we have like 15 influence left over, so why not? I think Diesel is also like pretty common. Deuce's Wild is pretty common. I think we're likely to play a Paperclip because it's just like good enough, and it works really well with Cheswa. What's a card you know is kind of bad, but you really want to play or see more play? I think what's his name is a really good example of that. I think Bachlin's really good. I think there's so much ice in the meta right now that is like very expensive to res, and I feel like a lot of the decks that are resing some of the most expensive ice have relatively fragile economies. Like Ag Infusion can res 1 big ice, and then if you can de-res it, they're in a bad spot in the mid game. Same with a lot of the PE decks that don't have a robust economy, right? Like, yeah, you're taking a tag. Ideally, you can clear it clicklessly, but paying 2 credits to eventually de-res, it seems pretty good. So who knows? Hey, Jai, any corp ideas, chat? I have a CO this week and I have no idea what to play. I have no good ideas. I've like really not been excited to play a lot of corp. I struggle with like corp economy. I feel like, I don't know. What are you thinking? I feel like safety Sportsmetal is totally fine. Outfit I think is totally fine and like is crushing on some of the greedier Anarch decks. Yeah, I don't know. All right, we have 10 more cards to fit in this deck and we've spent no influence. I don't know if we're going to go straight to Hippo. Looking at the other, what's it called? Hardware that we can play. It's really interesting because we can actually get away with any weird hardware. Like, I'd play them all if we can. Do we have a way to gain tempo by just running our engine every turn like a Tech Raider Aesops? The way that we get tempo is that we install cards clicklessly off the top of our deck. I think we do need something like a security testing or a red team, something that like running a central server will give us good value regardless, because we do want to 100% run once a turn. And I think security testing is not the sexiest card, but against assets, it's pretty good. It's pretty free. So like you can get some good value from this. I got a Keeling Op Glacier I'm working on. Whoa, that's a wild combination. I want to play more like damage op decks where like you trick them by like at instant speed, you know, doing a couple cards in order to do damage. I can't believe nobody's playing what's it called as well, Unsmiling Serebna. I think that card is way better than it looks. Okay, so security testing, like we could play one. I think red team you could also consider playing. There's definitely going to be some slots here that I'm not considering at all. But if we look at like the hardware, what we can get away with playing, like we can play Hippo. It's not that bad. The problem is like most of the other hardware doesn't make any sense in the deck. Like hardware is somehow very niche. There's not a lot of hardware that's like just universally playable. I don't know, that's just me. It's just like none of the hardware is like generically good. It's all like very, very strange. Like Cyberdelia, I guess. I'm not excited to this. We don't need the MU, but like that's like the first piece of generically good hardware that's not a console. It's really weird. Gachapon you could consider, but I don't know. I don't think we need to do that. I think we play Botulists in this deck. It's just something you can cheat out with Prognostic pretty easily. It's a good card. If we run Amaku, we can cut down to 1, I guess. I'll send you Unsmiling Damage, Sep Ob, if you like to try one Sunday. Hippo could be neat include for hardware. Yeah, Alvin, how's it going? Hippo is like what I've seen. Lime's playing a Hippo, and I played a Hippo 2 Hippo versions. It's like really weird because Hippo's like not bad, but inherently doesn't do anything that's like very good with our game plan, right? Like it's not the most important card, so I've always been like a bit apprehensive to play it, but it's like not bad. CWP, oh, CityWorks Project. Cool, cool, cool. Like 2 Diesel maybe, we can play Deuces. It's important we set up, like that's reasonable. We're still missing some cards here, so like what else can we play that we're missing? We have 13 hardware, that 2 flip switches too, like that might be too many. So let's try and play a bit more. Devil Charm is basically just money as a hardware that combos with Turtle. It is, but like it's, how comparable is it to Boomerang, you know? Simulchip be running Botulus. I'm not too excited to like spend more influence to get the Botulus back. If we ran like, and I think there's reasons to run, what's it called? Oh, this is Botulus. Sorry, I meant to write Fermenter. I didn't want Botulus in here. I wanted Fermenter. Excuse me. That might make more sense now. Prepaid. I think I played 1 prepaid so far. If you look at the cards we have, like, oh, I think that's the big thing that we don't have here. We don't have multi-axis. So I think playing actually 2 copies of the twinning is somewhat accurate. We're running up to 3 Chesvas if you want, but like we have no multi-axis besides Docklands Pass, Wake Implant, Twinning. That actually might be too much. We can get rid of one of the twinnings. So we have Docklands, Wake, and Twinning. I've been known to play Stargate pretty aggressively in some of these lists. We can probably cut a Deuces for a Diesel, go like that. We could play a No One Home if we really wanted to. I think we're in an okay spot. A Smiling Knob makes me think of Anemone combo cheese. Yeah, exactly. I think we have a deck up on this channel, a VOD we did right when the new set come out, where it was like Ob with Azief, send Anemone. We would like throw Unsmilings at them and you do a lot of damage really quick. I think we even had like Vera in there to do more damage. I'm not sure if we need prepaid. Prepaid's probably pretty good. 3 Chesva is a bit much. We could do 1 prepaid. What's it cost us? We have 1 influence left over. What do we want to play for 1 influence? Anybody have a good 1 influence card that they champion? Diesel could be Nuke actually gets as discounted. I'd argue that we don't need that many things to get as discounted because we get as discounted anyways. And I think we're already drawing so much from our engine. We just kind of need the Diesel up front to like start us going. But once we're going, we almost never will click Nuke, I don't think. 3rd Deuces. Yes, pretty reasonable. Hush. Hush is okay. I think we do have an MU issue. Like, I think there is some consideration that you could play the neutral MU card. Because, like, our rig is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe. So maybe we can just play 1 T400 and feel okay about it. Hush, I can't believe is 1 influence. I don't know if we do enough with Hush in the deck. Testing will tell. I don't know if we do enough Hush. Hush is solid, but, like, we can't produce it at really reasonable speed. I don't know what we're excited to Hush. Like, what are we excited to Hush? Like, we could maybe Hush an Anansi so we can Boomerang it, but that seems like we're putting a lot of cards into a single problem. I think maybe a second security testing is somewhat reasonable. I think maybe even playing, what's it called? An info bounty is reasonable. That's like a card that sometimes gives you enough value that's worth pursuing. Maybe. And then we can cut a card. Let's just cut a flip switch is cute. Get an inf and get Clot? I don't like Clot too much unless I'm running also Simulchip. I think it's hard to run Clod in these decks unless you're running Cybele Chip, because clodding off the top rope from Prognostic Q Loop is like not consistent at all. Why the diamond? Because we install it clicklessly for 1 credit and draw a card. So hardware, the floor in hardware is a bit higher than in most decks, so we can get away with running kind of mid cards. But like if we look at our breaker suite, we want 3 breakers, probably 2 Chesva, and then a fermenter and maybe an Amakua. So we do fill our MU in some cases. We also are pretty good at drawing, so extra hand size is like, okay, whatever. But it's definitely not the most important card. So we play 1 and get away with it. I suspect NSG expected Hush to be a much larger part of the meta than it is currently. It's a sort of card too, like if we have better Hush delivery systems and or the breaker suites change where like Hush is more important, it can definitely suddenly become obviously more important. We'll see. But like it's a card that its existence also is like just a balancing mechanism, where if we get some sort of weird toxic NBN meta, like we can fix it. I want to try Info Bounty. Is 3 Chesva too much? I feel like 3 Chesva is probably 1 too many. Bless you. I once won a game with a blind Claude from Keatlu, one of my best Netrunner moments. That's really cool. I think you definitely take it, right? If you're going to lose the game, pay 1. I played 1 game against Diogene in a tournament where I knew it was the top of the deck and I had to pretend it wasn't. And then I stopped him with the combination, but I knew it was there. It wasn't blind. I was like not drawing because I knew he's going to fast advance. Let's go. All right. So opening hand, we keep it. I think we want our best opening is like Masterwork by a mile. So if we deuces here, we got Masterwork. So then we install Masterwork, draw a card. We play Sure Gamble, and then we probably set up with a Chesva. And then we can like as aggressively as turn 2, we could Bravado HQ, clicklessly install the Boomerang with the Chesva, creditlessly draw a card, get an access, maybe die to snare. We'd be survived to snare, and we can go from there. That's actually a really good start. We got Prognostic early. We have 1 Chesva. I wonder if I like 3 Chesva more than I think I do. This deck seems reasonable. I'll cut a flip switch, and then if we feel like we can't face check into ice, we'll go back on this. So yeah, Prognostic as not an interesting name, but it's already 10:30. Probably should play some Netrunner. Okay, let's go. When I did play, I watched your old video about Az and it became my favorite runner. Yo, it's like obviously, I think once you see Az or play Az, and I know it's a bit intimidating, it's like very clear that it's a very different deck to everything else. And I think that's so cool. Like this sort of, I love abilities like this, and like that incentivize a different play style, that like you use pieces that people are or are not using in a totally different way. And that's the sort of thing that I think we've seen. Az is, I think, a standout to it. Obviously S its own thing, but I love those decks where it's not like I'm playing criminal, I'm playing Az is the question and the answer to that question. Hey, Augustus, here a bit late for testing for the CO. Did I miss anything big? No. We played a Sportsmetal deck, went really bad. Augustus, if you're coming to the Canadian East Coast Nationals on the end of August, we have tickets up now. That's, I think, the most exciting thing. And we will be streaming this Sunday for at length. We're going to do a longer stream this weekend. I summarized the news. How you doing? Now, the only downside to playing Az while you're streaming is that it is really easy to forget the top of your deck. And remembering the top of your deck is so important. So it's up to y'all to help me. If I say I forget what the top of my deck is, maybe we can remember. And I'll give you a huge tip that you can legally do when playing Netrunner is that if you know the top 2 cards of your deck, so you remember that you've seen them, you actually can put them top of your stack slightly crooked. I've been doing this when I play Az, so anytime that I do Prognostic and I know that I know the card, I will put it back on top of my deck crooked so I can remember that I should remember. You can also note take, and you largely should if you really want to play like high level Az and you're worried about forgetting stuff. Just scroll down what's on top of your deck, cross it out when you draw it or you shuffle. And that is incredibly important. Remembering too, like Az is one of the decks that playing it on JNet is actually the easiest way to learn the deck because there's so many triggers and they're all forced. And JNet always says it like, hey, do you want to do this? Hey, do you want to do this? Oh, you're going to draw because you made a successful run. Oh, you're going to see 2 cards because it's class act. Oh, do you want to shuffle your Boomerang? And it makes sure that you're on top of your game, which is like so incredibly important because there's like an absurd amount of cascading triggers within a single run. I do like Az. I don't know if Az has ever won a tournament of like big size, but I think it's also been like a pretty high skill floor deck, but also like, yeah, a high skill ceiling deck, but a high skill floor deck where it's one of the sort of things where like, I think what you can do with it maybe isn't as consistent, but can be very flashy, but the amount of effort that you have to put in for the amount of results out of it probably doesn't line up. So it's kind of for fun more than is anything. I'm ready to watch some games. Hey, cheers. Yeah, we'll see if we get someone in here. This is another thing that I was thinking. I was watching a video where people were talking about like, oh, Seb, hey, someone has an As logo. As enjoyer. We might get boomed here. So having a way to draw cards clicklessly and having 6 hand size could matter. I think I've heard about this deck. So if I'm not mistaken, Seb K is running the sort of like get extra clicks, mutually assured destruction into boom. The deck largely runs 1 mad, 1 boom, so we have to make sure we can keep those down early with things like Gaslight. Our opening hand has not much else in it besides the diesels. We don't really need the paperclip that fast, so we want a mulligan in here for either a Miss Bones would be really sick. Again, we could be running 2, we probably should be. But most importantly, a Masterwork. That is not better. Busy clipping, I do like As. Best of luck, have fun. Thanks, you too. All right, so Seb is trying to get this deck to work. Now, what ways we have to deal with it? We have no way to dodge the tags. We did have a no 1 home in the deck that we cut, which makes the mutually assured destruction into a trace, if I'm not mistaken. We also don't really have the economy turn 1 to like shut this stuff down. Where like we have a big incentive to trash things because that's a Gaslight. He gets one of his pieces, and that's really important. It's been a minute too. Like, I don't know what the agendas the deck is running. I think it's just running as many 5/3s. Okay, early Regolith. Again, the deck does need a lot of money. As has always felt like Blue Shaper, it takes some time to build the engine, but great when it gets going. I would argue that like there's a chance that Prognostic makes you set up a bit faster than it looks like. All right, Chesva is good for Centrals because we can trash stuff. So like here we have an incentive to do like Deuces, Chesva, Docklands. I think we could do just like Chesva, Docklands, run HQ. That puts us on 2 credits, but we have 4 credits worth of trashables, and I think we have a lot of stuff to consider trashing. That comes at the cost of not putting the fermenter down, which is also equally important. So we could do Docklands, run HQ. Did Seb mold? So I think we do Docklands, run HQ. We can steal if we hit, what's it called? Ikua, which the deck is on. Yeah, that's why we don't run last click. We could have used the Chesva credits, but we'll take it. And a Gaslight will trash for 2. Unfortunately here we can install the fermenter, but next turn we can do credit Deuces Wild. So that's a really important piece to get down because again, the deck has 2 operations that it needs to get consistently. I don't know if the deck is also on hard hitting news, which we're really weak to. Couldn't play As in tournament, too exhausting, keep track of all triggers. It only gets easier, but you're not wrong. It is a hard one to play, harder than most other stuff. Criminals can have the greatest number of triggers, make it more difficult to face game. Counted 11 triggers on one of my deck, which I used in our local meetup. Are you playing Adam? I think Adam's another one that's similar. Gain 2, 3. Okay, so we have our Masterwork. We install this for 1 credit, drawing a card. That's good. So we have another Masterwork, and it's very important to know that you can cycle these if you really want to. Here, I think we just get them the fermenter. Next turn, we can start running. They get credits. Mind you, to be able to combo off, they need rezzed cards. So admittedly, if we don't run, they can get those rezzed cards from assets. But we have to keep them down. And this sort of thing, like they also, the more servers they have with stuff in it, the worse it is for us because then they play fully operational and get more and more stuff. Not the 59 only 6-pointers thing. Yeah, I think the one that JTFQ posted was fewer than that. Okay, so we have to figure out how to get value here. Cracking the fermenter for 4 credits is pretty bad. Cred prepaid Deuces might have been decent since you got your As discount. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was trying to get the Masterwork down sooner, but yeah, this card is like one I don't think I'm gonna like really swing into. Getting off a diversion would be really good. So we need a Boomerang top deck for that to be reasonable. So I think we can click to draw once. We can also just face check here. I'm not sure where the Ice Suite is. I think it's on like some mid-range stuff like Magnet, Gatekeeper would be pretty bad for us. So we kind of want to wait until we have a Boomerang. We have 3 and 35, so we can click to draw once. All right, we have some good incentives to do that, but we're going to have to kind of recover. So I think we actually do a prepaid for 1 credit to draw a card, and then this turn we don't interact. Yikes. And then we do credit. Next turn we can like Fermenter, and then like maybe Bravado HQ. There's likely agendas in there considering Spin Doctor and they're holding 2 specifically, but I don't think we're allowed to face check. So we need a Boomerang. I think we can draw once for Boomerang. Okay, well, next turn we'll sort that out. So we can throw that out for sure. Class Act is pretty expensive. I don't know if we need the Class Act here. Next turn our play is like Fermenter. We didn't get a prepaid here, which is pretty bad. More Flip Switch. Yeah, we cut a Flip Switch from the deck, but like you see how the Flip Switch is a nice way that we can be aggressive, but ideally we'd rather draw into a Boomerang. So I don't know if it's the best slot. It is nice that I can clear tags, but only on their turn. That's like a really good benefit from it. So next turn we do like Fermenter, Sure Gamble, we're back into it. So I think we do keep the Class Act. We'll probably throw out the Waken plan, unfortunately. I think we want the multi-access. This is our R&D multi-access. Rashida's really bad for us. Okay, so here they could have the combo in hand. We could die right now. They just need Biotic, Mad Boom. So they're 1 credit short. But in theory, they need 2 cards rezzed. We could die right here. That is abstractly the strength of the deck. Now, as soon as we install something like a Citadel Sanctuary, they need another biotic. So they need all 3 biotics, if I'm not mistaken. But also we have to remember that they can just like mad the board and then say, good luck winning, because they have very few 5-3 agendas. So it's going to be tricky. But next turn, we have to crack this. Here, fully op is really bad. Okay, so now running on the table is pretty reasonable. Okay, so we have to crack this. So unfortunately, we don't have hardware to install. Ideally, we draw once for hardware, I think, because then we can like Chesvo, run R&D, get accesses. Hey, Aurora, it's been nearly a year since I caught a stream. Welcome, how's it going? Have you been playing Netrunner for a year? Or just streams are no good? We can contest these. We are running on 3rd click, which is kind of bad. I think we just need a boomerang here. I'm going to draw once for hardware. Okay, well, do we wait to sure gamble? Yeah, we class act for 3. Okay. All right, that's not good. We got an Amakua, but we're like, we're not doing anything. This is pretty bad. We want it to be running like 3 turns ago. Admittedly, if we don't run, though, we can't lose. And the boom is a trashable in HQ, so I think the target's on HQ, because if we trash the boom, it's hard for them to fix that. They have to get it back and cycle into their deck. And so here, again, we still don't have a boomerang. Regolith. So I don't think we installed the Yamakua. I think we just like Bravado HQ. Oh, it's got worse. Drafter is pretty bad, because it fires Asa as well. So I have to figure out how to get value from this. We're somehow holding no hardware. The deck has 14 hardware. We've seen 5 of them. But we definitely want hardware here. We can draw once with Class Act. I think it's worth it. We just have to go fast enough. This is not the hardware we need. We can always install it just to like cycle a card. That looks rough. We also had a window to boomerang diversion for turns ago. We didn't get it. So I do think it is a fermenter here, unfortunately. Again, if we don't run, I think it's harder for them to combo off. So I think we just continue to set up. So we'll, again, just play our money. Installing a fermenter might be a bit too much. I think Amakua getting down is pretty good. The info bounty is like whatever. We've already installed, we haven't installed a connection or job, so we can get this down for 1. But I think the fermenter is like not that necessary. At this point, we can be set up as long as we have 1 piece of hardware. The Cat's Cradle is reasonable. It deals with a lot of their stuff. I'll hope the info bounty pays off. Now we're going to discard a card here. Let's get rid of the Mutual Favor. The Chesva is important. Let's hope that doesn't bite us. Doofus is very good against this archetype because it needs a lot of credits. Yeah, for sure. Now they can duck it, but it will slow them down. The problem is like double ice is a bit tricky. Is this a never run kind of archetype? No, Scrub, we should have been running on turn 1. I think we died. Yeah, we died. Cool. Good game. Right. If you watch that, that's what happens. But no, we're meant to be running consistently. The problem is that we didn't draw into 3 boomerangs in 26, which we're meant to be able to draw into. Yeah, that wasn't great. No hardware in those in that hand. So we actually can play around that a slight bit. Unfortunately, we need 6 hand size, but if we ever just we need prognostic. If we had prognostic, we could rip off the top there. So yeah, unfortunately, there was a gaslight, which means they had the boom in hand. So that was our last turn to run. So I'd argue actually just running is correct because that keeps their money down. If they don't have money, they can't do that. So we were definitely way too cautious because if we make a run there, there's almost no way they can fire that combo off. I definitely should have just ran. I needed to tax your money. Mad I'm not trying good. I just haven't managed to catch any streams. Been playing not as much as I would like. Been so busy. Bummer. Sorry, I had to step away for the first couple turns. Yeah, no, that didn't go well. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, we definitely should have ran there. That feels really bad. Yeah, but they had it. Gaslight's a really big thing for this sort of deck, right? Because if there's a 1 piece, and they needed exactly 2 biotics, Mad and Boom, and so it seems like they had those 2 cards naturally, and then the biotic was the last part. The last part they didn't have. Yeah, that feels bad. But I think any other sort of regular aggression has a very different game again than that. Thanks for the game. All right, let's run that back. That felt terrible. Again, I don't think we played that well, but that wasn't good. Runner, let's go. Yeah, I wonder if the line is there. Like, do we install Chesva and start smashing? I think so. What are we scared of in terms of ice? Magnet's totally fine. Fairchild 3, if they res it, I think we're okay taking the 6 credit hit, considering their economy is not that great. So we'll see. It's P. Man, don't like it. Thanks. You too. This is again the sort of matchup where you don't learn anything about your deck because you're not allowed to play your deck anymore. You have to play the PE matchup. This opening hand has like card draw and economy. It has 2 pinholes, which is really important if it's keeling, but if it's grinder. Okay, now my spirits are falling pretty heavily. PU. Ian, how's it going? Like, this is where we're just gonna play super aggressive because I don't know. I don't want to do this one. So okay, we have to play cards that we think are important. Amaku is pretty important. There's not a lot of anti-AI ice hate you're expecting. Maybe you're expecting what's it called? A swordsman. So we'll put that down. We'll check. Ideally, we keep the security testing because it's a single card that gives us infinite credits in the matchup, and that's important. We'll see what this is. It's a Nightmare Archives. I'll add it to score area. We can run this server one. If it's a snare, we die. But this looks like it's full grinder. So, all right. 1 core damage? Nah, whatever. That's the worst possible start because we know this is going to be a long game now. I have done this start against people in Thule and they have conceded without saying anything. They just left the game. So, okay, they know we're runners too. That's important. Mwanza worst case, Hokusai annoying case, Mwanza worst case. So yeah, now it's really hard. Like the amount of agendas we need to win the game, we have to be very, very careful of what we install. We definitely need to steal Nobuka to win the game, which is again 5 cards for hand. That's kind of ridiculous. We can do a poke here. It's just a bit too late in the turn to want to do that. So I think we'll just draw once and install a sec testing, which is good enough. Yeah, I think honestly, Crow, you're right. I would probably concede here for the interest of the stream. Because this game is going to be 45 minutes and we're not going to learn anything about Az. Yeah, I think I'm going to concede. I think I am. It's such a bad feel. But like, yeah, I don't. 2 Nightmare Archives opening. Oh, man. Okay, at least they're pushing. So we gotta mark something. There's a Namba between sec testing and Amakua, but it's still definitely worth doing. So I'll install the Masterwork. It's fine. Okay, we run R&D. So we know we can boomerang this if it's a non-seat, it's a really bad spot. So here we can install a hardware clicklessly. We're not gonna. That's a Regolith. Oh, man. That means that they're on big money, but not a lot of money. That's really weird. Okay, so we'll run Archives. It's our 2 credits a turn. Again, I'm not interested in playing the Deuces Wild. We could run back, but Snare last click is really bad. So I think we'll just click for a credit here, see what this is. If it's a Keeling, like we can deal with it. It's fine. But like, oh man, we'll play a couple more turns. The meta is all about this kind of decks with the Mad Asa, PE Ag. I don't think Mad Asa is a really big part of the meta. Ag Infusion, Victoria, Thule, and Sports, all of which make you hard pressed to experiment with a deck. Yeah, I'd say that's largely true. I think a big thing too, Diogene, with that stuff is like any deck that's like a hard-hitting news deck is also like just going to be a huge like econ check. Like everyone's an artist until they need to pay the rent kind of problem. We're just hybrid releasing for damage. Oh man, that's the worst case where like they're happy to do 1 point for 1 net damage. Like that means you're in for a ride. All right, we'll just go R&D. Nope. So we actually should access with 5 cards here. This is a mistake because we can't steal Obokata. I pointedly not jumped in because we only, oh, this is full grinder. It's a Maganga. We don't mind Maganga too much because we have Amakua, but this deck is just trying to make us run out of hit points, which is like a pretty miserable thing to play against. I'm not convinced that it's something I want to do right now. I love PE. I used to like PE. I think this, like, yeah, it's weird. I'm much happier playing against the like acid PE decks, the PE decks that have like a bit more aggressive win conditions than like I sit back to make you run out of cards. You steal Ovo, get out of this game. Yeah, tell me about it. If this is a Malinzi on HQ, it's a really bad spot for us because we just can't interact with Malinzi on HQ. So we'll draw once. We're just not going to do our thing. We could diversion here. I think we do diversion. Them losing 5 credits is pretty important. If that's a Crisium, that's like really, really difficult for us, but I think it's unlikely it's a Crisium. Yeah, I'm going to concede. I'll give it 1 or 2 more turns to see how this goes. But like, yeah, I don't think we want to do this. If we talk about conceding for the last 5 to 10 turns, we might finally concede. Yeah, I think I will. I think I want to know more what their deck is, but like so far I haven't been excited about anything we've seen so far. Okay, maybe the Maganga. I don't know. Truly a man at war with himself. What are the like the archetypal narratives? One of them is human versus themselves. This is an interesting enough card. Taking a core damage is like probably not that bad, and it refunds us every draw. It also does mill us out. So again, we're just not going to play our deck anymore. Literally every card that just does unconditional damage. We're very lucky we're on Amakua, but like, yeah, this deck is, it's going to take forever. Hey, do you mind if I throw in the towel? Do you need to go? Oh, no, not exactly. No, but I'm happy to concede this one. I was like, what happens if they say no? Do you mind? Oh, sorry. If they say yes, they do mind. I need to go play a fun game. Oh, no. Seems early to concede. Yeah, that's fair. It is. Yeah, okay, cool. Hey, thanks for the game. Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. That's an absolute grind of a game. Hey, catch your end. Oof, okay. Yeah. Let's try and play an as game. You're locked in here with PE. Yeah, I want to say you're looking for a non-grinder matchup because we already write Metropole Grid live. You can't overload that with information. But no, but like, I don't know. I'd assume there's some assumption there, but who knows? Hey, Cinderin, how's it going? Man versus nature, man versus man, man versus grinder PE. I think like that's the sort of matchup. If we have Amaku and Stargate, I think we're largely in control of the game because it seems like most of the ice they drew doesn't actually do anything. Yeah. Hey, okay, Cror is going to play some prison garbage. Let's go. No grinder decks can only play decks that are good matchups for me. Scrub, it's like that's, I think, mostly correct. How many days before HHN rotates? We don't know. At least 28. Okay, Thule, interesting. I think there's some truth to there, but like there's a difference between like what you want to play in a tournament where you're forced to play and like I guess what you're playing casually to some extent. Right? Like you're not forced to. I don't know. It's a weird discussion, right? Like, because you make some sort of contract when you sit down with a player to be like, hey, we'll play a game. And if you walk away in the middle of it, are you a dickhead? Maybe you are. Best of luck. Okay, opening hand. Info Bounty, not great. Cross Act, not great. T400, we can get around core damage, but not actually. So we're going to mulligan this hand. Okay, this hand is, I think, arguably a bit better. The Sentry Breaker is important, but it's only largely important once they get up some harmonics, then we have to worry about bloop. Ches was actually really nice into the matchup because you can pay these 2 credits to pay for the Thule tax, so that's actually really cool. Deuce's Wild is kind of fine. A game against P can be interesting, but you're probably not when you start at -2 points. I think the biggest problem is like right now we're on stream trying to show off an as deck. And like, that is my biggest problem with the P decks is like, it incentivizes you heavily not to play your cards, which means like, you're just literally not playing the deck and you don't want to do that. All right, we'll draw 2, gain 3. Okay, here we're going to install a Chesva. We're going to run R&D, steal an Ontological. And then if we don't do that, we'll install a Class Act for 3 credits. It's a Hangeki. Okay, cool. So we haven't trashed anything. The text on Hangeki is based on that. We're ducking a bit too low in credits here. Ideally, we can recover with the deuces, but our economy here is not great. Do you ever consider taking the net damage in situation like the last game with the Nightmare? I think, well, it's core damage, right? So it's a bit worse. I think you can consider it. I don't think you're excited to take it on turn 1. Especially when I think we had a breaker in hand or we had something of value in hand. Grinder's only played because it's competitively not good, not because it's fun. Some people enjoy Grinder. There's like a fun inevitability to it. So Ice on HQ, we're expecting this to be Pulse, Echo, maybe a Wave. I would assume that, maybe a Meridian. So here we just need to stabilize economically. So unfortunately, we overextended on their economy pretty hard. So we have to just get up to money. We still haven't found a Boomerang or any of our economy pieces or hardware pieces, excuse me. So we'll do this. We see pretty deep. We'll draw first. We see a Pinel, a Fermenter, and a Twinning. I think we're going to not take the Pinel. We'll gain 3. We're going to discard a lot of cards here. That's okay. So we'll get the Fermenter down for sure. We can get a piece of hardware down for sure. So I think if we install the T400, which like, not great, but like it keeps us a card in hand. Let's argue that that's okay. Our money's really bad. Yeah, I do think some people genuinely like playing Grinder. Stock really makes me miss replicating perfection Jinteki. They were so fun to play. It's so surprising to me. Like, this is something that I don't remember about Jinteki replicating perfection, but so much about what RP did back in the day was like hide their agendas until like turn 15, 16. Like with Spin Doctor, you had so much ability to hide them that they literally tried not to score out agendas until turn 15. And I feel like in Netrunner right now, that's really difficult to do. It's a wild difference. Okay, our economy is still messed up. If we diesel, we draw a lot of cards. What can we play? Like, what can we afford to play off of 1 credit? It's like very little. By any means could be really fun against PE player. Diogen, I've like been thinking about our matchup and I do not know how you play by any means into Jinteki. Because inherently you have to run archives and you just don't have cards. So like you have to mill the entire corporation. I take IG over RH any day. Oh, Faceless. I don't know if that's the minority opinion or the majority opinion. I doubt it is. Do we diesel here? I think we just click for credits. Like, what can we play off the diesel? I feel like I've been dropping way too low. We still don't have our setup piece. Getting down the cat's cradle is like whatever. We don't have money, but it taxes their amount. And this is like the good thing about Thule. The less often you run, like the stock buybacks don't work. So I'm actually feeling okay just clicking for 4 credits here. Admittedly, we missed both of our first time per turn triggers, but like it's whatever. Don't need to run archives when you can bam, CS, mercs, all of RD. I think, yeah, you have to do all of it. And I think in the matchup we played, Diogen, you did like 9 or 10 cards. I think you literally need to do every single card to win because you have no ability to run archives. Yeah, Yorog is exactly how you do it. Melee Op does a good job of hiding IDs, but that's probably the only deck that can do it. You think Op does it well? I don't know if Op does it that well. This is really good respect. This is respecting the Chesva engine. That there's no server that's easy to run. So either we draw 4. I think drawing 4 here is too much. So let's just draw 2. That's good. Okay, now we want 4. So now we can continue to set up. Amakua does deal with this deck really well. I think there are versions of this deck that they have 1 influence left over, so you can play him a virus. Here we probably just draw. Obviously ordering there was pretty sus. Okay, that's fine. Don't need to run archives when you get BAM, CS, mercs already. Doing 40 points of R&D is also acceptable. Yeah, it's just really hard to do that again. Jinteki. I meant to enter. Ob is making R&D too rich from tutoring non-agenda cards, I think. All right. Seamless. Oh, cool. This is Cody's version. So we actually have to run. Nice. So this is the version that's running like Mega Pre that's running Off-World Office. And I really like this change because, again, some people just sit back because like what's Thule going to do? And so scoring out tempo positive agendas is like a really nice change of pace. Okay. Here we are weak to Fairchild 3. I think that's the only thing we're weak to. We're weak to Hagen. But as soon as we hit the Fermenter, we're in a bad spot to Fairchild 3. I think Cody's list is not running Fairchild 3, but I'm ready to be upset in a second. And if that's the case, we'll do Fermenter. We'll install DECKLISTS. We might take 1 core damage here because we're running HQ. I think there's an argument there to get the Cat's Cradle down because you're most likely to see a code gate here. Most likely to see a code gate, I think. It's a pulse. Yeah, exactly. So unfortunately, we can't get through this one. So that was probably the worst case scenario. It is 1 strength. So we're going to lose a credit. Now we have to respect, what's it called? The big one, Bloop, because they can de-res this. But yeah, I think that was a big reason to put a Cat's Cradle down. I think the Dawkins pass is too greedy. We should have just got the Cradle down. Now, because of the Spin Doctor, generally Nightmare Archives are in archives. So you want to contest Spin Doctor sooner than contest archives. And I think when you're playing Thule, you should largely try and keep the Nightmare Archives as in hand for exactly that reason, because people don't want to run archives. All right, I'll deal here. Okay, we bought him a card here. We have a prognostic that's pretty good. The prepaid voice pad is okay too. We still haven't found our masterwork. I think the second diversion funds is very powerful, but we need to get away through this ice. So we're maybe 1 boomerang from the second diversion of funds having huge control over the whole game. Prepaid? Yeah, probably. Okay. So we can get a hardware down. That's pretty nice. We have to face check starting with eventually with a Bugalter. Now at this point, if they res a bloop, I think we break it for, what is it? 4 for strength, 3 for subs, get 2 back, get 2 back. So it's not too bad. So we can consider bravadoing R&D here. Again, we want to spend a click and 2 creds left, but we mostly want to just get our Amaku up to strength. So we want to force some sort of interaction here. They can't res too much. In our matchup, I did 10 or 11 cards and saw 1 House of Knives and 2 Project Kusanagi, but in a matchup against a player with Wanza, I was able to grind 13 cards while not triggering Wanza. But the thing is, like, even if you saw like Obakata's Diogen, how do you steal them from archives? So I think that might be a bloop. Fast break, okay. That's good. So we're going to get a counter on Amakua. We haven't installed the hardware yet, so we can install the prognostic. And if we're feeling comfortable about our economy and you know your deck list, you can just hit a credit to rip off the top of prognostic. And I'd argue that we can probably afford to do that on this board state. Because if we get a boomerang, we're really good for diversion. So I think we will consider paying just a credit to rip off the top. Install draw. Server 3. Okay, no idea what that could be. Well, we missed the window, whatever. If we drew, we would have hit a masterwork. Oh man, it would have been sick to prognostic off the top. All right, so now we install this. It draws a card. It replaces itself with a masterwork. So now we have some good incentives to run. We can consider running archives. We can consider running R&D too. I think we want to run once a turn without more than a click left. We also want to get the twinning down at some point, but we just want to force their money up because it seems like they're struggling slightly. And we have a masterwork. So here, we don't want to install hardware. So we'll do the masterwork first, I guess. No. Prognostic looks at the top two. So we know there's a boomerang on top. So at any point in time, we can panic and spend a click to install, or credit to install the boomerang. It technically will be 3 credits. But we also know that we can install that on this and then diversion next turn. Okay, it's another pulse. We lost a click. This, I think we're not going to get an access here because we have no clicks left because of Thule. So we're just going to break one subroutine. In fact, breaking both of them doesn't change anything, so we'll just break the one that makes us lose, and then we'll end the run. Because we have no real interest. Again, you can take 1 core damage, but right now all we're doing is like, we don't want to steal agendas, so we just want to kind of force an economy out. We're actually setting up okay. So now on their turn, we can prognostic to install a boomerang, drawing a card, which draws a diversion potentially, and then we can just send it HQ with the Amakua, and then we're in a really good spot. We definitely have to contest the Spin Doctor sooner than later because it allows them to like fix their hand and they know we're going to come HQ. We're pretty sure the innermost is a bloop, but this is what Az should be doing. Ice Jam, I like it, but if they don't have credits, they can't fire any trap. So here on their turn, prognostic, reveal 1, boomerang, install, put it here. We'll do the boomerang trigger first. In theory, you should do the masterwork first. We have a diversion and a wake implant. I'd argue that we don't need the wake implant. We have the twinning. So now we can just diversion here. We get through everything. And then they'll be down on probably 0 credits. They can maybe duck by rezzing a Giordano or like a what's it called? A Managarm in their remote server. And then we can clear the remote server. Here we can do prognostic. We have no install. We look at the top 2 cards of the stack. We have another boomerang on top. So we can even install a boomerang mid-run. But we just have to remember if we use this boomerang, which we will, it shuffles the deck. So that's a Meridian. We'll just go ahead and boomerang it. They're on 2 credits here, so they could actually res entirely to duck, but we're still just going to take their money. So here we'll fully break. It's free. We'll take 2. Okay, they res the Managarm. That's really good. So now we'll get an access. So this is 2 cards. It's a bit scary. We'll do the breach. Fast break we knew. Stock buyback we didn't know. We'll shuffle the boomerang back so we no longer know the top of the deck. So here we can run this server. We're going to have to pay 2 clicks or 5 credits for the Managarm. Can we afford to do that? I don't know if we're in a rush to do that. The only upside here on this board state is they can't fire Giordano. They can't fire Hendrik because they don't have 2 credits. But like next turn, we're probably just going to shut them down again with diversion. So there's a chance that we can wait until we can check this safely. Because if we pay 2 clicks, which we would rather do, we're not going to lose to, well, we're not going to take a core damage. We can probably afford a core damage. We can afford our credit. I just don't think we have anything really to do here. Maybe we run the Spin Doctor. I think they'll pop it. No hardware install. We could have drawn once there, I guess. I think server 3 is another Spin Doctor. We'll draw once here. We can throw out the Masterwork, no problem. We're drawing unknown cards, so it's a deuces and a wake. We'll take the deuces for sure. Oh, we have 6 hand size. I totally forgot. Depending on the board state, usually I have to draw 10 cards, make it rather easy to steal all those agendas from archives. In a matchup, my combo cards are too far in the deck. Credit, credit, credit. Okay, so here we're doof. What does the doof cost us? So we can always expose a piece of ice and make a run. I'm assuming there's Nightmare Archives is a Nightmare. We know they have a stock buyback in hand, so we want to play around that largely. On 3 credits, they can score out, which is the bad spot. So like maybe we can just run this. They have 1 cost and 1 strength and 0 strength ice. So Amaku gets pretty far, barring if they do end up rezzing like a, I don't know, what would they res? Like if they res a bloop here, that's expensive. So I think we can draw up first. We can also, in theory, install a cat's cradle so they can't afford pulses. I don't know how good that is, but we could do it. We need like a bravado here. All right, Pinhole is actually pretty good. Sec testing is pretty reasonable too. It makes this server 3 pretty weak, and it means we can run archive sudo. So we bottom that for sure. So here we'll gain 3. We can also expose and make a run. I think here, like, oh man, we really need the miss bones, but like we probably just miss bones, or sorry, we probably, I don't know, maybe we hold the pinhole threading. I don't know what they can score out here that would feel bad about. I don't know. I think probably here we run R&D, get the Amakua, make sure we're using the Chesba. That seems reasonable. I don't think they're rezzing this. We could get down to twinning and see 2 cards. Yeah, let's just pressure R&D a bit. Admittedly, if we steal an agenda, it's expensive because it costs us a click and 2 credits. So, oh yeah, order here. Masterwork might be more expensive. This is expensive. So we'll do Masterwork. No. Top of the deck. Double Boomerang. Okay, so we always have a panic button if we want. And we can always do that on their turn, which we're incentivized to do. So we'll fully break this for our Chesva. We want another Chesva. We're pretty sure that's a big one. A bloop. And if it is, we can always boomerang it if it's cheaper than breaking it with Bugalter. And I think we're kind of overextending here. Oh, it's a drafter. Okay. Cool. So they're on 0 again. We break this for 4, gain 2 back. So we definitely need another Chesva. The other option is that we pay 2 credits to install Boomerang. That's the same as the Bugalter. Yeah, we'll do that then. Okay, so they're back down to 0. Reach server. We'll see 2 cards. We can take a core damage. Rashida will trash. Ontological will steal. That's a huge steal. The more of these you steal, the easier it is for you to take core damage. I think here we can gladly take a single core damage. We're hoping it doesn't hit the diversion or abstractly the cat's cradle, but most of their code gates are really low strength, so I'm okay losing the cat's cradle here. But we'll suffer the core damage. Okay, and then we can afford to put this down, because this is the easy way that we can like run cheaply, because now we can run archives, gain 2 credits off of this, use our Chesva to install stuff. We definitely need another Chesva here. It's going to be super crucial to our engine. We don't have a lot of money. We lost another diversion. Credit. Again, stock buyback's not really great. They drew unknown cards, so we know fast break, buyback. Just 3 credits. Holding the stock buyback. Cards and archives. If we draw, we know we're going to get 2 boomerangs. We'll put that on archives. So we'll draw. We'll take a boomerang. So for 2 credits and 2 Chesva, we can get through any piece of ice. So we're going to run archives here. We could draw once more. I don't think we're going to actually end up using our, what's it called, a prognostic. I do wonder what this is. So Masterwork, we're not going to use it. Frog, look at the top 2. Miss Bones and Bravado. Okay, so we want to draw the Miss Bones and get her down because we have a lot of stuff to trash in this matchup. Bravado is also really good because we want a Bravado server 1, even if we don't make a successful run. And as soon as he overextends, we can, what's it called, diversion. So this run is not for an Axis because I'm assuming there's Nightmare Archives. Oh, it's Meridian. Nice. Okay. So we have to think. We know the boomerang's in hand, so that was a resible. So otherwise we can give them 4 credits. Or we can take this at a negative point, which you hate to do because it turns on the stock buyback and the fast break. But we have an open archives. We have no other way to cheat through this because we didn't boomerang it. So I think we're just going to take it as negative points, no matter what it fires. But an open archives is like reasonable. It's just we can never access because of Nightmare. So I don't want to give them credits. Admittedly, this is the same as giving them credits, but I don't know. Okay, so that's a click for 2 credits at least. We know there's a Miss Bones on top, so if we draw her, we can install her cheaply. And that means we can contest their most servers a bit better. We still have 5 hand size, so we install her for 1. We have a Bravado on top of the deck, which we want to do next click. So I think we'll just draw up once here. We eat our ability, which is pretty bad. Yeah, so we might as well install this. It's like clicking for credit as well. So next turn, we can just Bravado server 1. We only have 1 more diversion, which is bad. Okay. I wonder here if they're going to get tired and he's going to actually like stock buyback. Yeah, there you go. Credit stock buyback. So he's on 6. So he can actually res stuff on the remote server. We have a click for 2 credit button. We're going to draw once because we know there's a Bravado on top. I forgot about that interaction. So here we can click for 2. If he has a seamless, he can score out another on-tempo agenda. Otherwise, it's like a Mega Pre or something that we don't care about too much. Once we get our Amakua up to 3 strength, this server costs us only 2 credits. I think already it only cost us 2 credits. No, yeah, it already cost us 2 credits. So we're probably going to end up bravadoing it. Okay. So I think we just run archives. We could always get the boomerang on top of something. So we probably want to put the boomerang on this and then diversion, right? So this is what the engine does, right? Like you run archives. We use masterwork. We install a piece of hardware. We install this. We use these credits. We place it on here. Technically, we know where we're going to put this, but in theory, you could do the masterwork trigger first. Okay, we have a paperclip. We'll install that there. We'll lock in the top 2 cards of the stack. So we know there's a mutual favor into a prepaid voice pad. So we'll breach the server, which gets us 2 credits. And this also got us a twinning charge. This is what we're doing with as. So then here we can diversion of funds for our last 2 clicks. He might be able to duck to res, but I think he only ducks 2 credits here. So we get 4 out of him. So then we'll doof. We won't install hardware here. We'll boomerang that. So it shuffles the deck. So we have to remember that we're not going to draw into the mutual favor. This is 2 credits out of pocket. We just know another Ches was so bad. I hope there's still 3 in the deck. So we'll break for 2. We have to break both of these, right? Yeah. It's not an enigma. So he could maybe res something here, but if we put him on 1 credit, okay, yeah, he ducks with Giordano. So we're still going to take 3 credits away from him, but now we know how difficult the server is. So largely we're going to have to pinhole the Giordano. We'll shuffle that back. We'll take 5 credits. Not great economy. But we're chugging along. Oh, Rashido. Oh, that's bad. Okay. So he has fast break in hand and then a bunch of nonsense. We're really incentivized to run HQ here. Ideally, we throw out the paperclip so that we can get it installed with the Chesva. But like just having another Chesva here is such a big deal because we actually nearly generate economy. So here he probably has a seamless. This server is a nightmare. Another stock buyback. So he's not holding. He realizes how we are playing. All right. Get some X's. Let's draw. Fermenter or Q. We'll take the fermenter. Here we don't have hardware to install, but we can always use the masterwork to install the... Sorry, we can use the masterwork to install the masterwork. It costs us nothing and draws us a card, and it gives us a counter on the twinning. So that's worth it as long as we're not running R&D this turn. And I think that's probably pretty fair. So no matter what, we run archives here. I wonder if they purge if we put down the fermenter. So I'm going to do the masterwork shuffle. So we'll install this for 1. We have to trash this one. So we use that counter. We use another counter off of it. We look at top 2 cards of stack now. We have masterwork into info bounty. So a shuffle effect would be fine. Info bounty would be really good here. I'm actually glad we have that because we could run any of these. Breach server. We got 2. Okay. So that costs us 2 credits, not 1, of course. So now we can see 3 on the twinning if we want to. Multi-X is a bit difficult against this deck. So we definitely want to draw to discard the paperclip. I forgot what we had on the top already. So we'll draw once to get the fermenter down, I think. It was a masterwork into something good. So the paperclip we can discard at least. Okay. So we want to break this as 4 to install 3 to break. So 7 up front is a lot, but the Chesva helps over time. And of course, we can clicklessly install Boomerang if we need to. No, is it the good one? Oh, good. It's a Mega Pre. That's sick for us. Forcing the opponent to score at the first Mega Pre is really bad. Oh, Info Bounty. Ian, huge. Thank you. All right. He also has a discard here. No idea what server 3 is. Could be a Spin Doctor. But I feel like this is our window to dig deep on R&D. The question is, how deep can we dig? We can see 3 cards, no problem. We can see 4 cards, no problem. The question is, how do we sequence this? I just wish we had more money. Like, money is surprisingly rate limiting at this point. So if we run archives, we could in theory install the Boomerang on one of these, but it doesn't actually do that much. We break these for 2 and this installs for 2. It does cycle our deck in an interesting way, but we can just use the Chesva breaking these, so that's fine. If we Chesva, we're going to be accessing with no credits, and we need to have some amount of credits to be able to interact with Thule. And again, once we steal the second ontological, we can take all the core damage we want. It doesn't matter. This is definitely a Managram or a Hendrik. We know by definition it's an upgrade. So do we draw for the Info Bounty? I don't think we do. I think we just want clicks. I think we just run R&D. Just like normal run R&D. Pay 2, access a whole bunch. So here, Masterwork will deny it. We could, in theory, install the Masterwork for 2 credits, but we're going to use the credits anyways. Look at the top 2. Okay, so it's Info Bounty into Chesva. That Chesva is so important. That Chesva we need. And this is why we have a bit more MU than normal. So we'll fully break this using that. Continue approach. So we want to lock the deck. I think he has agendas in hand, though. It's pretty sure. So here we'll break that. Very satisfying square rig. Yeah. You can do some lane drafting. All right, so we can see 3 cards. We can steal 2 agendas. We'll see all of them. Off-road, love it. Here we'll pay click and 2. Ontological, okay. Here we can start actually taking the core damage. Because there's only one more. We'll take a core damage here. Spin Doctor. So he's going to be drawing into the Spin Doctor next turn. I don't think we draw this. We lost the economy card in our hand. That's pretty bad. But I don't think we draw this. I think we want Dirty Laundry in this deck because it's so good with everything else we're doing. Yeah, we definitely want Dirty Laundry in this deck. So Spin Doctor, I don't think we can afford to trash to go down to 0. Actually, we do. He draws unknown cards. We have Fermenter and we still have Security Testing. So we'll draw once. I think the Chesva might be a bit better than the Info Bounty. Funny enough. It's not real credits, it's fake credits, but we'll run Archives. We have to discard a card here. That's fine. So now he's drawing unknown cards, but like one single good run. And we've seen 1 Giordano already, and we've seen 2 Stock Buyback. So we're in an okay spot. I will throw away that for sure. So if he doesn't purge, we hit Fermenter. We get done Chesva, we run R&D. C2. C3, in fact. Okay, it was a Spin Doctor, so that makes sense. That's the last Spin Doctor. We thought that was a Spin Doctor earlier because he didn't shuffle when we trashed this Spin Doctor, and I feel like you probably want to bring the Seamless back, so that makes sense. Hangeki. So we can either access a card, and what card are you picking? Which card is it? It doesn't tell you which card it is. So it's definitely a face down card, so I think it's a Hendrik. So we're on 2 core damage. Unresed. I think we will take it. I think we will access it. I think 3 core damage doesn't change that much. It's scary because he has fast break, but if he fast breaks and scores out, yeah, we definitely take it here. If we take another negative point, we don't win on a 2-pointer instead. So we're going to access it. So it's a Mr. Hendrik. So here he has to pay 2 more credits and we'll suffer core damage. So hopefully we don't lose. Okay, we're not going to trash the Hendrik. We're going to win on R&D. But yeah, with 2 ontologicals out, we're allowed to take that damage. Here now the only risk is that they can like fast break and then the ontological is a 1-0, so they can fast break install it and break lock arb really easily. I think we have a huge incentive to run R&D here. Sorry, to run HQ, because he's drawn a lot. That's definitely an agenda, but I think there's another agenda in HQ. The question is how cheaply can we get in? Stock buyback for 12. Nice. Okay, that's the last one. Okay, Fermenter. Sec testing is on our archives. So I think we want to see 2 on HQ. I think he's probably holding Nightmare Archives. He might have discarded one early, but that's the card that we don't want to hit here. Admittedly, though, we can take as much core damage as we want. Again, we're only playing around 1 ontological. And if he had it in hand, he would definitely score it. So it's probably an R&D if anywheres. So this thing pays for itself. Again, we still need to get through the Meridian. We probably end up boomeranging clicklessly. So I think we do like click Fermenter. Do we play around Snare? I don't think we do. And here we can run HQ, clicklessly install this. Oh, actually we overextended. The second Chesva is not necessary on this run. So we run HQ here. So either we can install the paperclip. I'm going to masterwork, install this. Oh, we didn't overextend because we used these credits, excuse me. So we'll do the masterwork draw. We see prepaid and sure gamble. I'll take the gamble. We'll install that on this. We'll look at the top 2 of the stack. We have to remember it's Zenith into sure gamble. Admittedly, we are going to shuffle our deck. But if we want to pull out the Zenith before we access, we can. It's obviously a core damage. A bit of a cost. So we'll boomerang that. The thinner your stack gets, the more it's just boomerangs, which is a really good spot to be. We'll break this. Okay. So we'll see 3 cards here. I think we'll see 3 cards here. Bloop. Okay. I think we're going to take the core damage. Mega Pre. Nice. This one, we probably don't want to take the core damage on this one, let's be honest. And that'll be game. Good game. We win before the final core damage. But that is only doable on the basis that we have taken 2 ontologicals. Otherwise, that's very scary. Good game. What's in the remote? We're lucky we stole the ontologicals early. Hendrik, you could have used Miss Bones? Oh, that's true. He didn't. Yeah, we could have Miss Bones. I forgot. We've had this Miss Bones burning a hole in their pocket. We definitely could have Miss Bones the Hendrik. I'd argue that to some extent we don't want to. Right? Like that allows them to shuffle it back with Spin Doctor, which I don't know if that's the worst thing for them to shuffle back, but like, I don't think there's a big reason that we care about this. We're trying not to run the remote server ever. So forcing it to be stuck there is fine. Nice. Yeah. So it's a Luminal in the remote server. So that's the on tempo agenda. We'll shuffle that back. Cool. Thanks for the game. How do you like Thule? Our engine did not set up well. We need a more upfront economy. I think adding dirty laundry is going to be a definite start. The security testing seems really good. I wonder if 2 of these is better than just having an info bounty. I appreciate the change in pace. I think that's gonna be good. Hendrick only works when installed, right? So shuffling back isn't scary. It's not because I'm worried about him coming back up on R&D, but it's more so that I don't want Crore to install Hendrick eventually on R&D or HQ, because that's where we win the game. I think it's a very niche case, and like we definitely could have trashed it, but like I don't want to have a Hendrick on R&D, so I'm not gonna trash it. Hey, cheers. But yeah, it only fires installed, so there's no risk hitting a Hendrick in archives, in R&D, or in HQ. Hey, Crore, good game. We got really lucky on some of those rips, but we did not set up anywhere near fast enough, let's be honest. And I'm lucky enough that the diversions landed when they needed to. But I do not want to run the remote saver. Wait, why do we have a 0% win rate? Don't look at that. How do we hide that? Yeah, no, that deck is great. All right, so we need to get dirty laundries in here. What do we cut to get the dirty laundries in? But we need something that just gives us tempo. So we have to cut some cards. So what is performing? Oh, we're on 3 chests. Okay, that's what we want. Fermenter seems good. The Breaker Suite seems reasonable. Mistbone seems really good. Class Act seems great. Twinning is how we're winning. Sec testing, info bounty. I think I'm going to drop 2 info bounty, go to 2 sec testing, see how that works. Yeah, I think flip switch we can definitely cut. I think the T400 is also a cuttable slot, but whatever. I wonder if the Zenith chip is too rich, but I feel like we played against a core damage matchup where we obviously don't install it. Otherwise, we're running once a turn because of like security testing, so it seems like a natural combination. Mutual favor, maybe we can cut that. Maybe. Yeah, info bounty I cut for sec testing, but I actually kind of like the sec testings. They seem like they give us a good reason to do the thing we want to do. I think I'm going to hate this once we play against Ag Infusion, so maybe like playing 1 is good enough, but it does give us a good target. And I think the next thing we'd consider is like Docklands Pass, Wake and Plant, and Twinning too much. Like, can we cut one of these? And if we cut one of them, it might be Wake and Plant, weirdly enough. We have like a big incentive to play 45 cards because you see like this deck doesn't do much until it draws Masterwork. So like maybe you want to cut down. Maybe we can cut down up Pinhole Threading. Pinhole Threading is also just really good with Chesva, unfortunately. Early Docklands is something we should avoid. Suck some early game money that game. I'm hoping that with more money it's okay, but I do like this card a lot. I do really like Docklands Pass for 1 credit. Let's try cutting a Wake and seeing if we miss it. Wake is just like a card that's hard to play. If you got breakers in it, I don't know. I like it just later in the game. Yeah, and with a 1 of like, I think we just maybe don't play it till immediately. But you're right. We probably played it a bit too soon. In the first matchup against Asa, it was almost definitely wrong. Info Bounty's problem is that it costs real money and then gets you value sometimes. It only costs us 1 credit sometimes with As, but yeah, you're right. Like the upfront cost of sec testing is so trivial. It also falls into the same camp where if you don't install it before the end of the turn, it doesn't do anything. So like, at least that's not that different, but yeah, I hear you. Sable only card. I think it's almost Sable only. If you can play a deck that can get value from running any server, which we can almost do, maybe it's more than Sable only, but I hear you. All right, this is the matchup where we want Mistbones. This is the matchup where we don't keep this hand, but if this is assets op, we definitely want Mistbones so early. Thanks, you too. Yeah, you're right. Info Bounty is really good with everything else we're doing, like Amakua. We're gonna mull this. No Mistbones, but actually a pretty good start, all things considered. The problem is if they're like a hard-hitting news deck, if they're like Arctic Blood deck, we can't really interact. It looks like they are the deck that we want to play 2 Mistbones for. I specifically did not bring Bladder up. Okay, so I don't think we check early. I think we need to find a Mistbones so hard. I think we want the credits from Deuce's Wild that we can do this. Otherwise, you can always diesel. But the issue is we have like Dirty Laundries. We have cards that require interaction. So ideally, we have Mistbones. So we can do Mistbones double Dirty Laundry. I feel like we can keep them in check with specifically that draw. Wall to wall, gone. Nasek's gone. All right, 11 to 5. 5 on credits on Mistbones. Again, play 2 of these. But that was kind of an absurd start. Economic Warfare for tempo. Let's go. All right, start turn ice. Okay, single ice. So we're assuming they're on... Yeah, that was really a ridiculous draw. We're assuming they're on like, you know, Mouseless, maybe Border Control, definitely Envelopment, maybe. But to protect this is actually pretty difficult. So we'll start with dieseling. Okay. We can just probably pintle threading whatever this is. We can do Chesva pintle threading. I think we don't need to. We have Miss Bones. So we probably want to afford to do Masterwork first. Clicklessly, we can afford to pay 1. And then from here, we can... I don't think we need to greedily prognostic. So I think we just pintle because I think it's a Rashida that they need to protect. We won't install here. We need to keep our money up. Oh, it's a hostile. Nice. Press the delete button. Okay, so that we probably have to trash. And we'll just take 2 damage here. Any of these cards are replaceable. So they're deeper in the financial hole. We lost our Diversion, which feels bad, and we lost our Chesva, which feels bad. So I'd argue those are the worst hits here. We have to make sure this is not Rashida specifically. Oh, we don't want to do that. That's a wall-to-wall. They can't res it. I don't think we need to trash that. This is a bad case if it's a Rashida or a Svidagor because they get back into the game. Okay. All right, this is where we struggle to continue to set up. We really wanted the Chesva. I think there's a chance that there's an agenda in HQ, but if it's an SDS, we're in a bad spot. So I'm going to run HQ here just because we want to cycle through our deck. So we'll install this for 1. It doesn't fire because it wasn't installed during the start of run trigger itself. So it misses that checkpoint. Here, clearly they have a Formicary, and this is what we expect it to be in hand. So not that we want to score agendas early, but it's something we'll do. Now with Hostile, it's currently got 2 separate triggers on JNet itself and other cards. If you trash a different card first and then go for the Hostile, it will double fire. I have died to that on JNet Casual before, where it's clearly not implemented properly. We'll draw once here. Paperclip's good, because if it's a Formicary, we can take the damage. We won't install hardware here. It's another Hostile. I think we install this before they can afford to res it, but I feel like if they res this for 5 credits, they're in a bad spot anyways. Yeah, this is really difficult. I feel like if they res this, they're in a terrible spot. That I think we can afford to take 2 meat damage to force them to Fate 5. It allows them to duck diversions. Admittedly, we only have 2 more diversions. This costs us 3 real credits. I think we'll just continue to draw up and keep our money up. That is so good, because now we have a click for 2 credit button. This is probably the thing we're more likely to run, but I thought that was a Rashida considering how they got it. How did you know it's Formicary again? Because there's this really awkward window where before you breach, it pauses, and there's only 1 card in the whole game that asks the corporation if there's a window there. So it's clearly that, and specifically only that card. Okay, we can draw once for hardware here. I'd argue that there's not a lot of hardware we want here. Again, we probably should play Miss 2 Bones, so I'll draw once. All right, whatever. That eats the Formicaries. So Masterwork, we have no trigger here. We could install this for 1 to draw a card. I think our money is more important than that. Top 2 of the stack, though, is good. Diversion off the top, Catch Cradle. That's really important. They advance this, but they can advance anything, right? I think they're going to let us trash this. We'll pay 1. Maybe that was bad. Okay. So we're going to draw up. We're going to get that down. We're going to click for a credit. Just kidding. And then we want a diversion next turn. We have something coming off the top of the deck. They're going to be on at least 6 credits here. So they can probably ice this or res this. It's likely an Afshar. But now the problem is that we know they can duck this. This is where like we built up good tempo, but we're not able to transition to an economy engine. I think the Chesva would have been so important because it allows us to run centrals and install our stuff for free. So we definitely need another Chesva sometime soon. But we're weak here to economic warfare and to hard hitting news. Yeah, there you go. Shit. You make 1 mistake here. We just need a more solid economy again. These are the sort of decks where like you play, botchless liberated accounts because this happens. So now we have 4 tags. I think the good versions of this deck are now running end of the line, which is still very expensive. We can get pretty far floating tags. The only burst economy they have is specifically Svidagor, which we have to respect. We are going to lose this though eventually. So we'll put that on archives, I think. Oh man, this is so upsetting. So we know there's a Cat's Cradle on top. We don't want that. But like, oh man, did we just really punt it that hard? We'll run archives first to get our 2 credits. We should draw once because we know the top card of the deck. Yeah, let's undo that. Because we're losing some value here. We should draw once because we knew what that was. And now we see 2 new cards. So Masterwork, we're not going to trigger. Let's look at the top. So it's a Boomerang and Class Act. Okay. Install 1 for hardware. No. We'll take 2. We'll run server 6. We won't install here. We just need to make sure there's no, what's it called, Rashidas, or Svidagor, because that's how they clicklessly gain 4 credits. So we just have to trash that. So now we're just making sure that they don't draw into Boom. We actually have an incentive to install a program so we can steal SDS. What was it on the top of the deck again? It was good. It was a Boomerang, right? Yeah. So here, I think we just need to make accesses. Trashing this is actually really important. It's probably more important. Border control. Okay, credit. Not even. Okay, we'll throw out the paperclip. Ah, we're cooked. Feels bad. All right, server 7 credit. Boomerang, TCA. Oh, the class act. Thank you. So as soon as next turn we die, because they easily can have in hand the boom, and the boom costs them 4 credits. We don't know what this is. We know they have a border control in hand, and that's all we know. So we need to get into HQ and access with 1 credit. They went out of their way to triple advance this, so there's a chance it's a mouseless, but if it is a mouseless, they can't afford to res it. So at least we got that going for us. Now, what can they res? If it's an Afshar, it costs them 3. If we take time to install the Cat's Cradle, they can't afford that. I think we always do click for 2 credits. We see the top of the deck, so we could have considered drawing here, but I feel like we have bigger problems. Yeah, Boomerang Class Act. We won't install the hardware. Okay. So we'll run HQ. Yeah, I think we just need to get access on HQ. Let's go DECKLISTS pass. And in a really bad scenario, if they res something here that we can't break and we feel like we need to, we can always just install a Boomerang off the top of the deck. Doof? I think Doof they can likely duck. I think you're right that Doof is actually pretty reasonable. If they don't res here, we can always come back with a Doof. Wall to wall, no good. Yeah, I think you're right. We probably just do Doof here. They didn't res before. If they triple advance it, maybe it is a mouseless. But here they can res whatever server 7 is. If it's a Sphere of Gore, I think we still lose. It's an Assex, so we still lose. I think we need to go for the access. Because with this, so they gain a credit from this, they're on 2. They gain a credit for this, they spend 2 to get on this, so I think they're able to be on 4. So we have to actually have to access, because if they have the boom in hand, we lose. Wall to wall, okay. Or was I, if I pay 1, they may spend up to 2. Maybe we had to take that last credit away from them. Maybe I messed the math up. You gave them an extra cred? No, I think it works. I think they burst to 4 no matter what. Good game. Oof. Yeah, decks like this like really force you to, you know, take your vitamins, where you should just play a robust economy deck that is not interaction based, because as soon as you step into this, it's a really bad spot. So like, I think this is largely what tunnels people into playing like the sort of Hoshiko decks where 1 in every 2 cards is an economy card, because credit checks like this are like kind of rough. And I feel like we don't have that sort of really strong, robust economy. This sort of deck is hard to deal with. We definitely didn't play that anywhere near perfectly, like by a mile. We didn't play that to all the best angles. Yeah, it's really hard. Yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, if they had 1 credit, right? Like they do Nasix first, they're on 2 credits. So then wall to wall, they gain a credit. They're on 3 credits, but then they can spend 2 to put them on the Nasix. Then they click the Nasix to gain 4. So yeah, denying them the last credit actually doesn't matter, but trashing the 1 of boom, which was seemed to be in 4 cards, probably would have bought us a window, but a lot of times those decks are running multiple booms. So who knows? Giving 4 turns of wall to wall value is how that game was lost. Yeah. I think we probably had to trash that, but I think even if we do trash this, like we are going to lose eventually. It's really hard for us to like get down programs and like try and steal 7 points, as hard as that is. But yeah, we definitely needed to take this down because this was the entirety of their economy. The dream still lives on. Go to teach game. Oh, Andrew, hey, have fun with that. That's always really exciting. If they're on 0, they do the same thing. Yeah, if they're on 0, yeah, exactly. They can still do it. All right, well, like, is that the sort of needle that gets into your side that forces you to play 2 missed bones? We had such a good start and we just weren't able to capitalize on anything else. Like, I feel like that's also the sort of matchup where you just click for credits, like click 3, trash 1 card. And then even then, I think you might be able to catch up or stay afloat. I think we're able to stay afloat maybe if we just click for 3. Hey, not again. It's going to be the same matchup. Maybe? What does not again play? I think not again plays this sort of thing too. Hey. Best of luck. Have fun. All right, so we have, again, run-based economy, which we want to avoid. We have a fermenter. We can get into a much worse hand than this. But I think we also can, like, it's like, do we just hard mulligan for the 1 of missed bones? That seems a bit twisted. We'll try. That's actually a better hand, I think. So we don't have to do interaction until we're set up, and we have 2 economy cards here. So we see 2 assets. Again, Ice HQ happens no matter what because of diversion. So we'll see if we see 2 assets, because then we kind of know what the list is. Okay, this might be fast events. This might be scoring up, not necessarily hard-hitting news. So that's nice. Draw 2, gain 3. Okay, this seems like a good economic start. So we have good incentives to get Masterwork down. So I think we can do Masterwork. I think we can do Sure Gamble. And I'd argue that Sec Testing is probably a bit better than Fermenter. Maybe it forces them to ice up archives, which I think we're happy with that. But if they don't, we have a click for 5 credits with Masterwork trigger. So I think we can take that. So we'll do the Masterwork to draw. Okay. So we do Sure Gamble. And I think we'll just put this down. Low commitment. Maybe a good payoff with another run-based card in hand. Hostile. Okay, so this seems like it's full fast advance op. So maybe you see like the Jeeves and all this sort of stuff. So I don't think we're going to see hard-hitting news. So it can be a bit aggressive because giving bad publicity to an asset deck makes literally no sense. So that's pretty good. 2 Xmas Bones is probably super good. It's the main reason to play the blue faction. Yeah, I agree. It is really, really good. But it's the sort of thing where it's like you're making a meta call whether you're going to play against competitive or like casual JNet lobby. And it's obviously still a good card in casual JNet lobby. All right, so here we want to set up. I think we can afford to install the Docklands Pass just to draw a card. HQ pressure is really good against fast events deck. Anvil's a bit hard to deal with, but we'll see. So we'll install this. Bad publicity is so good with this engine, mind you, if it's not obvious, because all installs are cheaper. So here, Class Act is really good. That comes down for 4 credits. Fermenter is really good. I think we can afford to draw once more. Okay, and then we can face check into HQ next turn. Does adding Tapworm put us too much into purge value? I think it does. We have Amakua. We have Botulus. Oh, shit. They're a hard-hitting news deck and they don't have it. A massive disrespect for 1 second. Security testing, I think we'll put on archives, but that could have been worse. All right. Well, credit. Do we run? Do we run? I don't know if we do. I think we can deuce this here. We have a really good recovery. Like, we're actually happy that they played 2 economic warfares here and didn't get us. Yeah, Tapworm is a weird card. Like, no one's really playing it. I think, like, Fermenter is just better value than Tapworm. Like, it just buys you a turn. Tapworm never gives you credits. Is Bad Pub so good? Is Mining Accident worth it? No. In this deck, I would say no. Because it's already a bit of a slow deck and you struggle to keep their economy down. And I think Mining Accident as a card in the modern competitive meta is a bit rough. There's a lot of outfit out there. There's a fair bit of Sportsmetal. And against those matchups, like, it doesn't do enough as a slot. I'm pretty sure it's only 2 influence, though. We'll just get money from this. Card draw 2. Boomerang is good. We already have 1. Pinhole is interesting if they're on Zato. It gives us a way to deal with the Zato remote. I don't think we need double Boomerang, but I don't think we're upset ever about double Boomerang. Okay. They definitely have agendas in HQ. Oh, shit. So here, do we just Bravado HQ? There's something really bad cases here. If it's like a Mouseless, it's pretty bad. Is there anything else that's really rough too? But like, we have way too many cards in hand here. I did the math wrong. So if we run, we can like install the Boomerang. That's okay. But I think we just Bravado archives. If they res, they res. I don't know what we get blown out by. It didn't give us any of our triggers. Oh, after that's perfect. We have no money. Why didn't it give us any of our started run triggers? Archer's online? Yeah, but if they trash a Fermenter to res an Archer in archives, like, who's winning? Okay, we did make an unsuccessful run. We didn't get hard-hitting news last turn. Boomerangs are really good. I think the Dirty Laundry is probably it. Yeah, that's weird. I'd rather throw out the Pinhole there. Tithonium? Oh my god, you're right, Cat. If it's a Tithonium, we don't lose the game. It's not good. But like, yeah, Tithonium, like, how do you respect Tithonium? You can't. You couldn't afford any triggers, so it didn't even give us the option. That's super rude. We'll put this on, I think, R&D. So now we're going to run HQ C2 cards. So we'll do Sure Gamble to start. We'll run HQ. Start a turn trigger, or start a run trigger. We'll install that. We'll draw the first. So it's a Chesva and a prepaid. I like the Chesva. I don't know if I'm a big prepaid fan of this deck. All right, it's an Apshar. So we scaled into that relatively well with bad publicity. We'll Boomerang that. We obviously lose 2 credits. This is where we want a Dirty Laundry. We see 2 cards. Regolith for 3. I don't know how they build that in a remote server. I don't think I want to trash that because they clearly are playing hard-hitting news. We have to keep our money up. Okay. Yeah. Well, we try to warn you. So here I think we draw up once and then we just play Sure Gamble. They play 2 economic warfare, so we have pretty good math on like how hard they can hurt us. And we have a diversion into Boomerang, so like that's a really good play for the following turn. And we can always Chesva first to get even more money. Mind you, when you say lose credits, you can't use Chesva, but bad publicity works because it is in your credit pool. So Regolith there is bad, but with bad publicity, like, why don't we check these? Is one of these a snare? I keep forgetting this is op. Like, this is the problem when I play against this. You play against this like it's any other deck. So like you totally forget this is an op deck. So we'll put this on R&D. I don't want a diversion anymore. Oh, they just purged. That's fine. That doesn't get a 2-coster though, so it's pretty good. Ends a 4 carry. Okay. So I think we can just like bounce through this. That's probably the regolith, let's be honest, but that does purge the fermenter in a really cool way. So we'll run server 3. They also use their op trigger on our turn. I think they generally want to use it on their turn because we're no longer worried about them doing stuff on their turn. I don't know what they would threaten, but yeah, okay, let's run server 3. We'll install this. We could actually consider their installing the Chesva, running R&D, assuming they probably wouldn't res, and then we can install the boomerang for cheaper. I think that's actually probably right. We have bad publicity, so like it's okay. But that's, you can be a bit greedier there, where you want to always run your sec testing mark to get value. So that's Rashida. Okay, so server 2 is likely the regolith. We can afford to res that or run that and still keep our money up. If we don't, it's disastrous. And we have bad publicity, so 2 credits, whatever. Here we can draw up. I don't really want a diesel because that's too many cards. Zenith is actually worth playing. But I think here, if we install the Chesva, we go down to 5. I don't want to do that. We know they have economic warfare. Let's just keep our credits up, play it safe. And now we need to draw into breakers. Ideally, Amakua. My play partner keeps getting me with installed snares despite me telling them the conventional wisdom is to keep them in hand. Yeah, that's exactly why it's the best time to do it then. I think there actually we shouldn't have clicked for credit. We should have ran R&D because I don't think they could have rezzed and we had 2 credit run there. All right, let's start here with Diesel to find an answer for this thing. Okay, we have to bottom one of these. Easy. So this is where we do the thing that we do. So how do we sequence this thinking? We have only 3 clicks. So we can install a Chesva. We can Bravado R&D, and then use the Bravado R&D to install a boomerang on Forma Carry. If we face check into a piece of ice here, if it's anything that trashes programs, it's not that bad. Well, actually we lose to this, but like it's not that bad, right? So we're going to run R&D here. We're going to install a hardware using the Chesva credits on the Masterwork. Install it there. So this is the idea that we can run our mark, get a good security testing trigger, and then get more value. If they have double econ warfare, 8 is worse than 7. Sure, but we can always, I guess we can always boost 1 to some extent. Oh, that's good. Right, like in theory we couldn't there, but you can always fire prognostic. You can do things to duck it. But yeah, if we're playing around double, yeah, you want to be on not divisible by 4. Okay, that fires. So that Amakua we get through. So now we have to run this last click. I don't know how bad that is. Here we don't really want to install the Zenith chip. We fired a trigger. We're keeping our money up, which is good. We'll get through that. There's 2 in archives. Yeah, we've seen 2. It's an Azief. We'll steal that. We'll shuffle that. Okay, interesting. Draw. So now we have a huge incentive to land a diversion if they don't make a play. Because it seems they have Reservoir. Okay, here we need to land a diversion so bad. Funny enough, all their ice is at 1 strength that we're like, can't exactly deal with that. So we'll put this on, I think, archives? So here we need to rip into like a breaker. Oh, that looked like a, what's it called for a second? I love Zenith because it's like a DreamNet, but involves invasive cyber surgery instead of commuting with the DreamNet. I'm a huge fan of Zenith. I think it'd be really good here. The problem here is we have to make a successful run. So like, do we just tank through a Forma Carry? I don't think we do. Draw, deuces doesn't work here. Oh, that works. Okay. So here we diversion. And again, this is the beauty of these sort of decks, is that we can do this all for like saving clicks. And we still have bad publicity. So Masterwork. Oh, we drew a prognostic. Of course we did. Choose installed ice. It goes on there. Continue encounter. We're in a good spot. I still feel like the cost to play Zenith is just outright higher than DreamNet. It does feel like that. And I think the biggest thing is that criminals can't, like there's certain hands that criminals can't afford to take damage. And I feel the same way Wake and Plan. It's just like, is a very high cost. I don't think we need the pinhole here. We'll diversion. We need to get real accesses soon, right? Like we took the mutual out of the deck, but we just need to get accesses. 1 access means that we get our Amaku up to strength. And that's the biggest, again, obviously the biggest deal. This is where it gets cool too, is like we can just run R&D to fire prognostic. And then we have 3 credits to work with if we know the top of the deck. Which we don't exactly, but you could see where it gets good. Okay, draw once, trying to find a breaker. Boomerang is a breaker. So here, we've been boomeranging every single turn. It's been pretty sick. So here, I still think we run R&D. It saves us a credit. That's not that good. So we probably get the prognostic down and then we run R&D, or sorry, run server 3. My roommate's stuck outside. You need to grab the door. What? No, yeah, I'll wait. Let's go. Criminal feels a bit weird faction to do cybernetic support. No extra cards to hit or no recursion. On that note, Shaper Cybernetics absolutely fell so flat, which is like really unfortunate. But like the Shaper Cybernetics seem really interesting. And I don't know if it's just a Shaper issue in general, but you know what I mean? Even with a hand with no unique cards, those cards are probably worth at least as much as 2 credits of savings. Yes. And you play a lot of 1-ofs too, so it feels even worse. But I'd argue getting like clickless card draw is like so good. I think the issue though is our engine is so well set up that we get enough clickless card draw that it might not be necessary. But like Zenith triggering Class Act is like obviously sick. But maybe like, do we just play DreamNet? We don't have digital. We don't have 2 Link. We could. It's actually hard to get Link in standard. While we're waiting, I'm so impressed at the speed at which you process the Archer logic I tossed out. Wait, what do you mean? On Archives? I don't know. It's like I wasn't considering Archer. And then I don't know why I wasn't considering it, but like I think on that point of the board, like, yeah, if they do it, it's like not great for them. You don't see that much Archer for what it's worth. Really good in startup, but like those sort of cards we're going to entirely reevaluate come rotation once bin breakers go, where like program destruction seems like very, very reasonable. I guess we can fire triggers here, right? So like we masterwork first, stall 1, this goes here. Look at top 2 cards of stack. I don't think they have a window here to interact, so we can go and do this. Bravado on the top, Paperclip coming up. Paperclip is really good. Unfortunately, if we shuffle the Boomerang back in, which we're not forced to do, Paperclip goes away. So sucks. I suggested the HQS might be Archer, and as soon as I said you already had the implications mapped out. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times too, right? Like, I keep forgetting that this is an op matchup because like we've seen op fire once, but I'm largely playing around this. Like we're just playing around the outfit, barring the ice difference or like any sort of fast events Wayland. So I think we're going to be surprised by like some sort of Mavirus into Manigarm play. But like for what it's worth, like we do have to respect program destruction. Like this could easily have Stavka into half run, which this deck can deal with because we can have a killer plus a Boomerang, let alone top of the deck prognostic sometimes can cheat you in. But yeah, it's interesting. Also, does anyone have play DreamNet if they can get +1 credits and draw someone consistently? Adam, but does mini faction but plays neutrals more. Oh, if they can't get the +1 credit. Does anyone play DreamNet? Yeah, Apex does for sure. Wait, but Apex is digital, so okay, never mind. Adam does. I think there's some arguments that there are some run-based Shaper decks that can do it. I think we saw World's Freedom playing at least one, just because it is just that good. And mind you, back then Endurance was around, so like you were running once a turn by like design, so it was a pretty easy inclusion. But I'm pretty sure the second place World's Finishing deck worked. No, it's all good. They got in good. I boomeranged from hand. How long do you think it'll take until people stop checking their heap for their bin breakers? You should still be checking your heap anyways, but it's going to be a while. It's going to be a minute. I think this deck plays the need because it draws on enter, but it probably is not absurd elsewhere. Run-based criminal, like the sort of aggressive run-based criminal, isn't as prevalent as that archetype used to be. Spin Doctor. Okay, cool. So here we would actually like to get the Amakua down because we want the access. Do we shuffle the Boomerang in? I think we do. It's kind of a bummer that we have to. There are 3, we're at 10. I think here we draw once and throw out the Zenith. Like we just need to find our breakers. Well, we throw that out instead. Having a titanium ribs near print would have been really nice. Agree with your point actually about Crim Cybernetics. Titanium ribs was such a cool card. They realize like 1 strength ice, like I just end their own ice wall is good enough. And here now they actually can score out. So we need to basically get a Boomerang and then somehow also get the Amakua down. Economic warfare. Okay, they have a window here where we can still get them pretty good. Security testing. That's the last economic. They shuffled back 2 economics, right? Yeah, okay. So Hardy uses in hand. We can always pop the fermenter. Here we need to draw again into Boomerang. We're so good at this game. Okay, so we just like Boomerang. Get in. For what it's worth, there's actually like a line of play where we probably Amakua Boomerang through the ice wall, get a counter, run HQ, but like we're just going to continue to do this nice nonsense. All right, here we go. Is this the third? It's the second version. Yeah, okay. So Masterwork first. Bad publicity again, so good in this deck. 1, 2. Masterwork to draw first. Got another Boomerang. That's actually really nice. We'll install that there. So if they don't make a play, we can push out. We have a Class Act on the top and a Cat's Cradle. Unfortunately, that shuffles. I cannot believe how many times you hit the boomerang. There's 3 though in 19 cards, and we're seeing 2 cards every draw. Like, I don't think it's absurd. It's probably higher than average, but I don't think it's much higher than average. Here we lose bad publicity, which is nice. Titanium Ribs looks hella cool card. It was such a cool card because you played in archetypes that like consistently had reasons to take damage. So if you're not familiar with counter, what's it called? What was that damage card that's banned that everyone loves? The one that you get counters on it. That thing's so good. I'm waiting for you to get punished for not installing Amakua. Yeah, wait until we face check into what's it called, the Sapper. We'll shuffle that. Okay, well, we install the Amakua now. They're on 3. There's some reason we would want to, like, I don't want to install Amakua until we crack the Fermenter. So maybe next turn we do Amakua, Fermenter, Boomerang, Ice Wall when we just go wild. Because they definitely have agendas in hand. They shuffled back 2 Economic Warfares and they haven't shuffled back agendas. They've gone through 19 cards. We've seen 2 agendas. Their hand is flooded. So I'm just going to click for credit, but I think we probably should draw. Okay. Bisonite. Clan Vengeance. Yeah, that's the one. Clan Vengeance was like the reason you played. Ooh. Okay. Okay. We got to get this out of the way. We got to put this on archives. So this is a Stavka, or it's a half run. There is no other play that this makes a lot of sense. So we have to run that. Clan and Essa right now would be hot. Clan is a busted card with 0 round. Like, it needs to take a click. It should not be an instant speed ability. It is a messed up card. Okay, so here we need to get Amakua to 1, and we need to get a Boomerang on this. So let's talk about ways that we can do that. We can just Boomerang Ice Wall, get an access. We need to run somewhere. We have to install the Amakua, Boomerang Ice Wall. The deck has viruses in it, so we have to play around that to some extent. I think we do that, and then we just hope that we either see another Boomerang off the top of Prognostic, or we shuffle it back. I think that's the play. I think we just have to go for it. Clan with Banhar is probably criminal. Oh my god, yeah, with Banhar, that's absurd. Hello, I would like to install a turtle. Uh-oh. Ooh. Hold on. Connection pending. Please take some moments to visit the Amakua erratum at the top of the screen. Why is the YouTube not showing chat? Oh, there it is. That's weird. Uh-oh. Test. I will reconnect real quick. How could it be criminal if all those cards are Anarch? Okay. We'll refresh. I want to get back into that game. That game is pretty exciting. Rejoin. Is everyone's JNet getting weird suddenly? Or... Okay, we're good. Okay, hey. I'm back. Okay. Amakua. Run. R&D. Masterwork. Install. Boomerang. A lot of clicking. Install. We'll do the Masterwork draw first, I guess. We wanted a Boomerang here. We don't have one. I think we'll take the Chesva over the Miss Bones because we have bad pub. We install that there. Look at the top 2 cards of stack. So here we want a Boomerang. It's Fermenter into Bugalter. Bugalter, interestingly enough, will get us there. So here, if we can pay a credit to install the Fermenter off the top of our deck, which will give us access to the Bugalter. But if we shuffle the Boomerang back, we won't. I think there's a big chance they score the Oaktown. So continue. I think we'll just shuffle and then try to draw. End the run. Continue movement. Breach. We want to not steal an agenda here. Okay, we can afford not to trash that. We have to not trash that. Okay. Shuffle that back. So here we have one good run on their mode server. If it's a border control, we can get through it twice. If it is an envelopment, they can res it and then they can score at the Oaktown, but that'll be all they're doing. But the problem is we have to play around Archer and we have to play around Stavka, which I'm pretty sure they're on. And merely if we lose these programs, it's not the end of the game. So I think here we just prognostic off the top, right? We have a 1 in 6 chance to get a Boomerang off the top. Hey, Leonard, just joining the stream. Any spicy notes on this Az deck? No, we're just trying to put together like a good stuff Az deck with the prognostic engine. We've been struggling a bit, but this has been going okay. This is the sort of matchup I think we're comfortable with, which is like a bit of bad publicity, relatively fair speed, no assets, still playing around Hardy News. How's it going? If this fails, you just get HH end? No, we just hit Fermenter last click. I think we just Fermenter last click, right? But I think we can just pay 1 for prognostic and hope. The other option is like we can run, right? Like we can run archives and then we use the bad publicity. Like this costs us 2 to break with bad publicity. So we can run and use the prognostic trigger. I think that's less good. I think we just fire it. It's a bravado. Okay, well, hey, that's fine. So here, I think we just sit back. So we probably hit the fermenter. And then last click, we can run HQ. It is largely cost us 2 credits. We probably don't want to do that. Let's try once. Okay. And we have to click this. Otherwise, we get hard hitting used. Okay, so they can score that one. It only cares about the breach, so you don't get the Amaku tokens from the sec testing run. Oh, you're asking why we don't run sec testing? Yeah, because we don't actually access cards. Wait, does it work? Whenever you finish breaching a server, if you did not steal, and what does it say? Oh, does it work now? Install twinning, get your win mechanism going. I think our win mechanism is largely blocking HQ, but yeah, we will eventually get the twinning down. It's just we're also trying to respect, hard-hitting news. So archives. So here, I think we're at the point that we can consider double Chesva because it will definitely pay off. So now we'll go HQ. We'll do masterwork. We'll just install this. It's nonsense, but it draws a card and it's free. Yeah, sorry, does that work together? We see a masterwork and a prepaid. You finally win. Top 2 cards of stack, boomerang pinhole. So we know the boomerang's on top of the deck and we won't be shuffling. Because your pinhole's mandatory, replacement for the breach. Sorry, I mean security testing. Will security testing work? Break subroutine. Specifically here, we want to use the Chesva because we can lose the bad publicity. I would argue that we probably could get the twinning down here. Oh, sorry. Lose 2. And we'll see 2 cards here. Hard hitting, we knew that. Macrophage. That's annoying. We have bad publicity in Link, though. All right, we know they have a Spin Doctor, a Macrophage, and a hard hitting news. So it's too late to get the twinning down. We run R&D for 1 credit. That's pretty good. We know the top of the deck is a boomerang, which we want to keep there because it contests the remote server. So we'll just run R&D. If the breach is replaced by anything, Amakuha fails. Okay, so it won't work. We can install the prepaid here, but we don't have a good incentive because it doesn't draw a card. We also know that we can use the prognostic on their turn to install. It'll be a bit more expensive, but we draw a card and we get as. So if they push the remote server, we have to remember to do it on their turn, which I will definitely forget to do. Fully break Ice Wall. 4 credits to make runs on central servers is absurd. Hedge fund off the top. So we know hedge fund. We know macrophage. I kind of don't want to draw. Macrophage is really difficult for us to deal with. We can use the Chesva cards to trace through it. Are we going to be on quad Chesva? F it. It's fun. Or triple Chesva. Mem Diamond, we really do like hardware. It's like good enough. And like with this sort of rig, we install a lot of stuff. So like you need the hardware. Okay. So here we crack prognostic, reveal, then top of deck. We know it's a boomerang. We install it here. Masterwork first, I guess. So we see pinhole and diversion. We'll take the diversion, I guess, because money matters. We'll install the boomerang there. Start a turn. We're back into it. So here we can put our mark on archives where we can run and get definite value here. So this is where we're like fully set up. Sorry, I gotta move my face. Also, it's a new mic. I've had this one for a while now, Leonard. I don't know when's probably for over a year and a half, but it's not the oldest microphone we have. So here we could diversion. Our credits are pretty good. We're not gonna be spending anything running this remote server ideally. So I think we run archives. We use masterwork. We use the credit off of this to install prepaid, which is whatever, but we get value. We can draw either a Cat's Cradle, which is whatever, or an Econ card, which is like probably a bit better. Cat's Cradle is actually relatively reasonable. Top 2 cards of stack. We see a boomerang and boomerang. Good to know that we always have a pocket boomerang if they ever like half run us or do anything really splashy. We can counter this. We pay from pocket. Oh, I took it when I should have not have. So we'll break Afshar for 2. So I'll use 1 from that. And I took 1 to our bank. So let's ignore that. Technically I cheated because we used bad publicity. So we should be there if I'm not mistaken. Now we can run server 5. We missed the twinning window. That's on me. We still know macrophage in hand. We still know hedge fund in hand. It's a border control. Okay. So here we are going to boomerang it. It shuffles the deck, but they can go get a 3-coster. So we'll break this, whatever. We can always like hit Amakuha through this, but if they end up ending the run, so we lose the boomerang, it's fine. We have 2 on the top of the deck. We're actually kind of disincentivized to shuffle. We don't need 3 boomerang in 13. 2 will do. Now we bad publicity through this. And so if they want to get a 3-coster from the deck, it'll probably be a sandstone. Masterful tracking of fixes on the archives run there. Oh, yeah. That bad publicity thing is an easy thing to mess up. Okay, it is a sandstone. Great. So we know the top of the deck. We haven't used prognostic. We want to do it during a run. Maybe actually there's an argument that we want to do it during a run on centrals, because we have 3 credits on centrals and bad publicity. So we break this for free. Yeah. So here we want to run R&D. In theory, we can run HQ, but I think locking R&D is just good enough. We'll encounter here. We'll break with this. And then we can pay off the top of our deck with prognostic. So during the run, we can still use the bad publicity. So prognostic will get to use this credit and our bad publicity to install the boomerang on that. We know the next card in the deck is a boomerang. Breach server, we get to see an unknown card. We don't care what it is. Well, we'll take that every day. And then we can run server 5. And they have no tricks for us. And we break this also for free. We will shuffle the deck, so we no longer know the top card of the deck. But we have a good credit advantage, and they're 1 diversion of funds away from being very upset with us. Az is so cool. Give us a good old Atlas. Yes. Okay, we're on game point. We'll shuffle that back. So we don't know the top of the stack. We know the deck has only 2 boomerangs in it because one of them is in the heap. They have 8 credits. We know Macrophage. This also now, like, we break for free eventually. We know Macrophage. That has to be a Managarm. That has to be a Mavirus. There's some incentive here to, like, run these first. Because if we're going to get purged out, we need to get purged out now. So we could diversion. The problem is if they diversion, I think we need to run first because we need to see the top of the deck. Because if they diversion and they purge our Amaku, we're in a bad spot. So I'll run this to start. Again, we have bad publicity. Top 2 of the stack. It's a classic dirty laundry. So that's bad because we don't have access to boomerangs. So we will breach. We're trying to hunt for an Afshar. Or sorry, not an Afshar. What's it called? We're trying to hunt here for a Mavirus, which the deck probably has up to 3 of them. Okay. So they drew 2 with Spin Doctor, shuffled back a Mavirus and Economic Warfare. So that means they have more cards in hand. We see 2 from HQ, and HQ is a free run. If we draw once, we draw into whatever's on top of the deck. It was like class act into something. Here we haven't used, so I think we can swap 3 from R&D. So we'll get that down. Our credits are like a bit not great because we actually end up losing money to this every time. So like we are going to get harding used eventually. We have to be ready for that. Break subroutine, we'll break, and the run, we'll use this before anything else. It gets us one of these counters. That will fire, we'll lose 1 bad publicity. Unfortunately here, I think we know the top of the deck. We probably should have drawn twice so that we have an ability to pull a card from deck. We also died a snare here. I feel like that's needlessly risky for how good the game is going. I think we can flush 3 from HQ. Knew that. Not surprised, but that's new. That's good to know. Okay. So they can definitely score it from hand. I don't think they can score at that many points. The Mavirus is back into R&D. If we run R&D, we see a single card. I think we just draw here. We actually probably just take a credit. Oh, wait. No, you don't take a credit. You run Archives. It's better than credit. Yeah, it's much better than credit. I think we probably should have drawn and like reinstalled the class act just to see deeper into the deck. So this we break. And we're in. So that's a click for 2 credits. That's a bit better than click for credit. It's 100% better than clicking for credits. All right. So we know they have hard hitting news. Economic Warfares, we've seen none. They're all back in the deck. Biotic. Oh, what are they scoring out? If it's a Naziev. Wait, we could die here. It's a Naziev. We have a chance of dying here. I don't think there's anything that kills us. Unless they have like a what's her name? A Vera in the deck. But more importantly, like we lose to Audacity, which is more likely. But there's a way here we die if they had a single damage. Oh man, yeah, we probably needed to land a diversion there. Just because after it's too late because we saw that Biotic, but I think we botched that turn a fair bit. Because if we landed the diversion, this doesn't happen. Now they're on 1 credit. So we have to check server 5. We have to watch out if it is potentially right, like what's it called? I want to check our archives, unfortunately. But if it is like a Mavirus, I guess they can't res it. But here we have to run this. Is there anything that does 1 damage on 1 credit? Is there anything that does a single damage on a single credit? I don't think there is. I think we have some reasons to draw twice here. We can see 2 from HQ, and then we can see 2 from the top of R&D. Oh yeah, right, we draw 2. That's so much better. I forgot that we draw 2 there. We don't really need the dirty laundry. So here we see two. Urtica, it's unlikely. Yeah, I think it's incredibly unlikely for an Urtica, but you're right. Urtica is the one thing that would kill us. So let's start by running server 5. Top 2 cards of stack. Boomerang, Boomerang. Really great to know. Only slightly useful. This will become breakable for 1. If they get a Purge here, it's actually really ugly, but that's why we have a Boomerang on top of the deck. If this is a virus. It's a last Spin Doctor. Okay, that's really good to know. Because now we need to swipe 3 from HQ. We just run HQ as many times as we can in a single turn. Extract and hedge fund. Okay, because it's all about the audacity, right? So it's up to us, right? Like we can swipe HQ or we can swipe R&D. I think we need to see 3 from HQ because it's more likely. The problem is like we know 3 cards in HQ. We know, okay, we know Macrophage. We need hard-hitting news. They played the Biotic. I think we have to get lucky on HQ. Luckily, we win on any agenda, and there's a lot. So we just go in here. If we want to install off the top of the deck, we can draw. Funny enough, if we like naturally draw into the last diversion, playing the last diversion is correct because they can't fast advance out over the last diversion. Hitting R&D might be worth once. It's cheaper, yeah, but it doesn't really matter that it's cheaper. Right, like I think we flush 3 from HQ, we run back, we see 1 from HQ, then we maybe run 1 on R&D. Oh, we only have 2 clicks left. Envelopment, oh yeah, you're right. Okay, thinking. The question basically is where we spend the extra access from the twinning. Like either we run HQ 3 times and see up to 4 cards, or we run a R&D and then HQ. We know all the Spin Doctors are out. And we know a couple cards in HQ. I think we know like 3 cards in HQ. So HQ only holds 4 new cards. And we haven't seen Audacity yet, right? All right, well, here we go. We can install the Boomerang to draw through our deck. I think it actually is correct just because we want to literally draw through our deck. I don't actually know what we need in our deck. Let's be honest. We have no more multi-axes in the deck. All right, so we'll break this. We're using obviously one of these, so we charge the twinning. We could have got the twinning down miles ago, and that would obviously be good. This loses the bad publicity +1. And so, yeah, we'll try and see 3 here. Let's see how good this goes for us. We can trash everything for free. Okay, knew that. Oh, that's good. Macrophage. Oh, okay, good game. All right, that was close to the end. We didn't put off enough central pressure. Like we were camping the remote server a bit. I think the diversion of funds was like the right play a turn ago. We weren't expecting them to be on Biotic. I'm generally a bit surprised. Like Biotic and Op is like maybe a bit combo. Hey, thanks. No problem. No problem. Thanks for the game. Did you have other agendas in there? Wasn't sure where to spend the twinning. Ah, okay, cool. Ah, nice. All right. So that was the only agenda in hand. So if we go R&D there, maybe we have a chance of locking it, but clearly they didn't have the 3-2, and it's obviously all about the 3-2. And this deck is probably running about 6 to maybe 7 3-2s. Biotic can catch people out with SZF. Yeah, not only lethals. Like, I don't think I was respecting having 2 cards in hand. But that being said, we could always interact with it. At that point in time, we knew how many cards we had in. We knew the top card of our stack, but you can always threaten. If you're going to die, just fire prognostic. Because if you hit a hardware, you draw a card, and that can be the difference between dying to certain things. Yeah, yeah. Hey, thanks for the game. Like, that was the thing that happened in the last game where we got boomed from the combo. It's like, if we had 6 hand size with G400 and a hardware on top of the deck, we can get to 7 hand size and we actually can survive a boom. Obviously incredibly niche. It's going to line up once in every like 3 moons, but like, it's nice to know you have it. And even against PE, being able to clicklessly draw cards can matter as much as like, it doesn't really make sense against Grinder. But if you don't die, it's probably worth a hit point. Damn, it's past midnight. Okay, cool. Hey, look, that's a stream for today. It was kind of all over the place, let's be honest. I'm excited to play as, but a mixed bag sometimes. Some of the matches can be pretty hard out there. That's it. We're going to be streaming again on Sunday. We're going to be doing a longer stream starting in the morning, maybe a 6-hour stream, which is really nice if you're watching the VOD and you watch normally at a time that, well, you can't watch the stream. Maybe that'll be there for you. And again, we have tickets up for our event. So, hey, if you're coming to CanNats at the end of August, we'd love to have you. It's the first big event ever in Montreal. So I'm super excited to be part of that. And we'd love to have you. Again, tickets are up. If you want to grab a ticket, that helps us know about how many people are going to sign up. And that helps us with all the other sort of cool stuff that we're doing. But we'd love to have you. That's largely it. There's a bunch of other big events going on in July. Again, check out r/Netrunner. I think Bushi posted about what's it called, US Nats at the end of this month, and I think that's gonna be pretty exciting. End of next month. Let's just say it's July. I think that's it. Thanks everyone who's watching. Hopefully you're having a good time. You're watching the VOD. For everyone watching live, really love having y'all watch. If you're just like watching from the distance, hanging out in chat, it's fantastic. And thanks to every people we play games against. We'll be back in a bit. Definitely, again, we're not going to be here, not this week, the week after. We're going to get some videos queued up so we can have at least something up on the channel. But gotta leave for work now. Actually, enjoy work, huh? It's Friday. Or like, I guess for you, it's like nearly Saturday. No, it's Friday morning. Yeah, enjoy that. Take care, y'all. Ciao.